Today we are joined by one of the great NFL linebackers of the 21st century, a man who came into the league and put everyone on notice from Jump Street. He's an 8-year NFL vet, the 2005 Defensive Rookie of the Year, former NFL First Team All-Pro, former NFL Second Team All-Pro, the 2006 NFL sack leader, a 3-time Pro Bowler, a member of the San Diego Chargers 50th anniversary team, and co-founder of Lights Out Extreme Fighting, Shawne Merriman. Welcome to the show.
What's up, bro? What's up, man? Thanks for having me.
What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to another episode of Verse Us with Eric Nixick. He is Eric Nixick. I am Randy Famerich, and this is Verse Us. Verse Us is presented by mybookie.ag. At MyBookie, you bet, you win, they pay. Head to mybookie.ag, use code VSUSPOD to get a bonus on your first deposit. Hey, what's going on, man? How are you?
Good, man. Just finished hitting the gym, you know.
Oh, you're in?
Yeah, just hitting the gym, and yeah, it's normal routine. I see like 3 or 4 times a week. I pop in, and no, I'm still getting after it.
Yeah, of course. How'd you start going to XC, by the way?
You know, so it's so funny. You know, Randy got me in it. Randy Couture was the first person I trained with. So Jay Glazer, he had a gym back in like the late 2000s in LA. So
was that Unbreakable or?
Yeah, this is before Unbreakable.
Oh, okay.
This is before
Legends.
Unbreakable. Yeah, Legends or something like that.
Yeah.
And so I was in there just kind of hitting the mitts. And, you know, my uncles were professional boxers.
Okay.
So I kind of just grew up, you know, going to Sugar Ray Leonard's gym in Palmer Park, Maryland, round one in Capitol Heights. So I was just, whenever they go, I would just pop in and train. And so I naturally had, you know, kind of a boxing background a little bit. And I was hitting the mitts in Jay's gym one day, and he's like, "Man, I didn't know you can box." And he said, "I think MMA can help you out of football." So I was like, "All right, cool." You know, so he texted me an address, and the next day I showed up at his address, and it was in Randy Couture's gym, and when it was off La Brea in LA.
Okay.
And so I walk in. He don't tell me who I'm going to go see, who's going to be in there. So I walk in, and Jay Glazer's to my left, and then Randy Couture's to my right. And so I'm looking at Jay like,
Oh,
what
shit.
shit? Hey, what's going on? You know, like I'm not fighting Randy Couture. Like, no. But they kind of explained to me just some of the stuff, the pummeling, and just some of the groundwork, and just basic stuff that would help me out in football. Use my leverage, being able to open my hips, and doing different things. And he kicked my ass. He wasn't even trying. It was different for me.
Leverage.
You know, it was leverage, and the way he was using my body and his leverage, and kind of really just tossing me around. So, you know, being an athlete, dude, I felt defeated. You know, leaving the gym so much that I text Randy the next day, like when I'm leaving, hey, when can I come back? You know, it was just that want to get better and train, man. So I started training a couple days a week, driving from San Diego all the way up to LA, and I just started training with those guys every offseason. I fell in love with the sport. Started meeting all the gym owners, the coaches, and I found myself probably around more the combat sports guys than I was NFL guys.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Shawne, how much do you think that helps your transition from being out of the NFL into MMA? Because I know that was the path I was looking for when I was done playing football, was the team, was the camaraderie. Because like when you're in the gym, like you're one of the fellas again. You know what I mean? Like you feel that vibe, you feel that energy.
Man, it's everything. And I try to tell a lot of guys, because when you retire and you get done, like there's no like calendar on when you're done.
Sure. Like
no one gives you a heads up, like, hey, you know, this day is going to be the last time you play. And football is probably the hardest because we're around each other so much. And it's a total team game where you need all 11 guys on the field, like doing the right thing in order for that one play to work. And so you spend more time with your teammates sometimes than you do with your family.
Sure.
And so that becomes your family. And so all guys struggle, no matter what level you're at, they struggle when you get done, because you miss that regimen. You miss like being around the guys, the locker room. Whether you win or lose, that bus ride, that plane ride home, you miss that. And when all of a sudden it's done one day, that's it. And so MMA has really saved me a lot. Because I was able to get back in there and train with the guys, you know, the shit talking back and forth, the younger fighters and stuff. And even, you know, 'cause we need that competition still.
Sure.
You know, because we've been doing it our whole lives. So I'll tell any former athlete, man, like, you know, get into a jiu-jitsu class, go do some Muay Thai, some boxing, do something. because we need that competition back in our lives again.
Yeah. I see how much you light up when you get in the gym too. Like when you're around the fellas and like you see the competition within the room, whether he trains with us as well. He'll hop in pro practice, everything else. But like I can see that right away when you're in the gym, like that love and passion you have for being in the room, It's
interesting. We had Joseph Benavidez on a couple weeks ago, and he talked about how his first year after retirement was tough, and he got really emotional talking about it. And as someone on the outside looking in, it seems like it's really like less about the actual sport that you miss and more just like you just said, that camaraderie.
Yeah,
right?
man, because for me, like in the football locker room, you got so many different personalities, right? You got guys that come from the country, the Midwest, the South, city boys, and somehow, some way, everybody becomes like friends and brothers, dude. It's the craziest thing ever. Yeah. If they were not on a team, you would never think that these two guys would be friends, right? But that's what the sport brings. And so, you get into a gym, and guys in there sparring, and guys, and you go in there, get your work in, but hey, if you punches slip and somebody's going too hard or trying to, what we call practice hero that day or whatever it is, and, then you go to back and forth. And so you miss that part of it. And you're right, man. I go there because it brings that spirit back out of me again. It gets me. If I got a tough week, I got a bunch of shit going on, and you sit in all these boardrooms and these meetings and all this stuff now that is so different than what I'm used to. And so the only way you get that out is by going to spar, by going and getting some work with the guys, having the back and forth banter, and it's become my anchor. And it has. But I just turned 41 a couple weeks ago, man. I'll still get in there some time, and I'll work with the guys. Even if I make it through a class or I hang, with the day I came in there, I was gassed. I was dying, But I was like, man, in my head, I'm like, if I get through this shit, like I'm good. As long as I make it through. And your mentality changed a little bit because at 31, I'm like, I actually want to go in and compete. Right. I actually want to go out and win everything. When you're at 41, you're like, okay, let me slow my ass down and just go in and get my work in. And it's become my anchor. It's always been.
I want you to take that point one step further and how important it is for me as a parent that our kids are playing team sports because of that cultural divide. I think in this day and age, dude, growing up, I didn't know anything about anything other than the fact of you're on my team. Can you catch this ball I'm about to throw you? You're my brother. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely.
I feel like that's something that we lack maybe this day and age, that we should be having our kids in team sports just for that purpose. As all walks of life come in and now you're on the same team and you're learning to grow and be brother. There's a brotherhood there.
It's funny. I was just watching an interview with Chris Paul the other day, the basketball player, obviously, and he was talking about his kids, or he was talking about himself growing up. Someone was asking like, how young were you when you got a trainer? And he was like, a trainer? He's like, my training was track and field, football, basketball. It was team sports. I wasn't focused on basketball as much as people think. Were you kind of similar? Like, was it always football every single day, or did you play
it was basketball too. I mean, I was a top ranked basketball player coming out of Prince George's County, Maryland as well. Like Kevin Durant came out there, do the same AAU team.
I was just telling these guys before you walked in, I was like, I'm pretty sure he's from a part of Maryland that just, I don't know what's in the water. Y'all breed fucking just professional athletes.
It's insane, man. It's like one day somebody's going to do a documentary on that.
Yeah, you're like Newport News, Virginia.
It's You got this area, this DC. I would really call it DC, Maryland, Virginia.
Yeah, DMV, right?
The DMV area, because you got Carmelo, who's right there in Baltimore, who's like 25 minutes away from me. Kevin Durant, Michael Beasley. I mean, the list goes.
Ty Lawson, right? Wasn't he? Jared Jack, I think.
Jared Jack went to Georgia Tech, right?
Georgia Tech.
I'm talking about within a 10-mile radius.
Yeah, bro, it's crazy.
Insane. And so,
Joe Hayden, I think, is from there.
Right? Dude, Vernon Davis. I mean, the list goes on because
all these people in from 03 to 07, all these people.
You know why? You know what it was, man? We were so competitive.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Because we all wanted to be the best at what we did. I mean, Chris Brown, you can go down AI is from
Wale, the rapper, Wale from DMV,
from Maryland, from Montgomery County. So
it's crazy.
It's crazy the talent that came out of this area where we were from. And I think it's just a competitive nature. Like everybody wanted to be the top dog in what they did.
Yeah.
And so for me, man, it's just, and then I was ranked number 1 in football coming out.
Yeah.
And in DC, Maryland, Virginia, that was tough. We had so many guys who was ranked in the country, and I came out as number 1. And I think I was top 5 or something like that in basketball, somewhere around there. So. But yeah, man, all this trainers and shit, man. My coach, my sons, I get them coached like a quarterback coach, right?
That's different, though.
It's different.
Yeah, quarterback.
When you're talking about hooping, when you're talking about all that, man, my trainers were, I played, everybody was 3 and 4 years older than me.
Sure.
Exactly.
You're going to go there and get your ass kicked and get better, or you never going to return to the court. And that's what it was. And now by the time I started playing with guys my own age, it was a joke.
Yeah.
You know, my son just got an offer from the University of Maryland.
We saw that.
Yeah, two weeks ago. He went to their camp, and Shawnes, you know, went out there, showed his ass as always. And he's just really hardworking kid. And then he got an offer from, I think, like Boston College and he's never played down to high school yet, you know? And it's like.
So he's going to be in 9th grade.
He'll be in 9th grade this year coming up.
Wow.
And so, we get him a quarterback coach. But other than that, man, like, go play football.
Sure.
You know, and learn the mechanics. But all this coaching and things like that, man, like, I just always played up. Always played up.
Especially in basketball, it feels like you figure it out by playing more. Playing guys that are older. I remember there's a documentary called Hooked about Hook Mitchell. I don't know if you guys ever heard of this kid from the Bay Area. He grew up with like Gary Payton and Jason Kidd.
I do remember that. Yeah,
all these guys. Yeah. And they all talk about him, and he just like would play up to the, you know, and he ended up getting in trouble, whatever. But yeah, man, it's crazy, like all these trainers and everything. I'll tell you what, real quick, not to get too far off track, but the one guy I would love to talk to, like above anyone, Michael Beasly, bro.
Yeah.
He was so fucking good.
He just had that one-on-one, right?
Yeah, with Lance Stevenson. I saw that shit.
So let me tell you, man, Michael Beasly actually grew up in my house. We grew up together.
Oh my God. Man.
So his dad and my uncle were best friends.
Okay.
And so people don't know Michael B's dad is good, can ball.
Yeah.
He was like the neighborhood hustler, come around there, you know, do his thing and take off, take everybody money and leave. You know? And so B's, you know, I remember B's being in my house, my grandmother's house in Capitol Heights, Maryland. Wow. And so we kind of fell off because he ended up moving somewhere else.
He went to K-State, right?
Yeah,
he went to K-State, but he went to some other, he went to some other kind of school leading up to that. And so we kind of fell off, man. But B's was doing everything he's doing right now at 11 and 12.
Wow.
You know, a lot of guys that came through DC Assault back then, a lot of up and coming guys. But I realized it got to a point where I started growing this way, and they kept doing that. And I was like, you know, 6'5" power forward ain't doing, you know, 6'4", 6'5" power guard ain't cutting it nowadays. These guys, and Beasly walking around 6'6", taking the ball down the court as a kid. You know, so you already knew these guys were just different.
What's up, guys? Just want to say thanks for continuing your support for the Versus Pod. If there's anything you guys like to see more, guests, comments, constructive criticism, whatever it may be, love to hear your thoughts. Please like and subscribe to the show. Thank you guys for tuning in and enjoy the show. Yeah. What was your recruiting process like for you, being a blue chip?
Yeah, it was crazy because I committed to Maryland, University of Maryland, my junior year. They offered me my sophomore year. So my son was kind of talking shit to me because he hadn't gone to high school yet. He got offered first. You know, it's like, man, it's so crazy too, because we're still so very competitive.
Sure, of course.
Even over games. I mean, a couple times, man, I'm like, you know, he get up in my face and shit and start, you know, like I said, look, you can say whatever you want, but do not touch me. That's the like, you touch me, it is on.
Dad's strength.
Yeah.
But man, we're so competitive, and so I was, I got offered as a 170-pound linebacker.
Yeah,
wow. You know, I was 170 pounds, but when I went to Maryland, again, they brought me in as a sophomore, but by the time I left, they had to move me up to senior.
Sure. Because
I was just too physical for everybody my age, so they had to move me up.
Yeah.
So I was walking off the field, and this is probably one of the coolest moments I've had as a dad. Michael Locksley was the running backs coach at Maryland when I was there. Him and Coach Vanderlyn, who was the head coach at the time, as I'm walking off the field in practice, they offered me at the camp. And so I'm sitting there as we're sitting around on the couch, and my son's mom and then my son is on the other end of the couch. And the same coach who offered me, Mike Locksley, was now the head coach, is offering my son. Wow. Dude, I damn near teared up.
Yeah,
you know,
cool.
it was one of those things, man, where I'm not like a really emotional guy, but it was like one of those things that I couldn't stop it, you know, because it was like a deja vu of hearing that offer to my 15-year-old son that was offered to me at a 16 by the same coach. And that just doesn't happen. And it was one it was one of the coolest moments of my life.
Didn't even realize until like you saw it happening, like, oh shit.
I didn't know. You were down there working out with the guys, the rest of the kids. There was some talent there too. It was a bunch of up and coming talent. I think 6, 7 guys who they were really looking at as well. And we walked over and we got called up to the office, and I kind of knew what was happening a little bit. But you can't anticipate hearing it. You can't anticipate hearing it. So man, he's sitting there telling me, and his son's mom already giving it up. I'm like, come on, you gonna make me, like stop,
hold it together,
like stop. It was such a cool moment because he worked to get that.
Sure.
And one of the biggest things, was the most important to me, that Coach Loxley said at that time was, you didn't get this offer because of your last name.
Right.
And I looked at my son, and it was a very proud moment for me.
That's awesome.
I was going to ask you about that. Like, how do you, as a father who has had this amazing career, you're known in these circles, how do you not let your son kind of succumb to that? You know what I mean? To be like, oh, well, my dad's this guy, so like, even if I slack off, like, I can still maybe get X, Y, and Z because my dad's my dad.
For one, I'm his biggest critic anyway.
Yeah.
I'm his biggest fan and his biggest critic at the same time, and I don't hold nothing back when it comes to him. So no coach can ever get on him as hard as I can. Like I tell even the quarterback coach at Boston College texted me yesterday because he's going to BC's camp today, and I was like, shit, coach, get after his ass. Please. Go ahead, go do your thing. And I think the biggest thing for me is I never like put myself in a position, even when he was younger in the youth football, some of the coaches want me to talk, come and talk to the kids. And once in a while I do it, but man, I try to stay in the background as much as possible because I want to be dad. I want to go to the games and I'll watch the game. If I see something, I'll talk to him about it in the car
after
on the way home. Or if I see him like not hustling or not going to the ball, like playing, then I probably won't say nothing to his ass. And it's like now he know I'm really pissed, right? So I wouldn't even say anything. But he's just I never had to push him. I never, even since he was like 9, 10 years old, he would just come with me. I'll wake him up, 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning. I'll tap him on the foot. Hey, let's go to the gym. And he'll kind of wipe his eyes, look at me and be like, all right, let me get my shoes. Yeah. It was never a point.
So you can't teach that. The big arm, the accuracy, all that stuff's great.
You give him the option. Yeah. Right? It's like you didn't force him to go, but it's on his own will. Yeah. And that those are things I think where you can burn him out. Yeah. Right? It's not the burnout, it's the motivation for him to go, I want to get up and go. Yeah. Where's he playing his high school ball at?
DePaul Catholic. Okay. In North Jersey. Okay. And I think they're top 20 somewhere. They ranked in the country. And me being a Vegas resident, I wanted him to come here. Yeah. Because Gorman, he worked out for the coaches in Gorman before we worked out over at Game Changers. Sure. And me, I still like to get out too. So I was working out with all the kids too. So I was doing a half gas. They're kill my ass.
Imagine Shawne Merriman bearing down on your ass.
Dude, I'm fucking hell no. So I'm like, I don't know what the hell I was thinking, right? So they, had the finishers, the half gassers out there at Game Changers, and they had a bunch of kids already committed to go to college. And so, yes, you know what? Let me go ahead and do it. Yeah. So I went in there and they, 10, 20, 30, all the gashes down the field. And I thought I was done. I mean, calves are cramping up, hamstrings are tight as shit, lower back is on fire. It's like, all right, let's line it up, let's go again. I'm looking at everybody. Nah, I'm not going to bitch out now.
Yeah, you can't, you can't not do it.
Because I'm out there already talking trash to my son. Yeah. So now I got to do it. Dude, I couldn't walk for about 2.5 days. I was fried. I was done.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
What is your thoughts on NIL right now?
I'm in the middle of it. And I think that if they don't have some control over it or some kind of governing body, it's going to ruin the sport eventually.
I agree.
I always felt that the kids should get paid. I always felt that. I felt that, and I actually made this recommendation. This is before the pandemic. And I was talking to some people on the board over the NCAA. Yep. And I think we was talking to Learfield. I would just give them, because they asked me, I said, look, all the kids on the team should get $2,000, $2,500 a month. Give them $2,000 a month. Yep. And the bigger name players, let them go do signings for their name. Sure. They earn that right. Sure. If you do that, let me tell you something, $2,000, $2,500 a month in college, you're rich. Yeah. Like in your head, you kidding me? Like, everything else is paid for, and $2,000, $2,500 a month will let you can live the way that you want to live. Right. Yeah. And that would have given the NCAA another decade or two, probably,
to try to
get this thing right, because you're at least showing an effort that you care about the kids going out there, putting their bodies and their names on the line. And they would have felt like wanted. They would have felt like their work was worth something. And now they got to a point where the NCAA can't control it. Yeah. And so people don't know that I didn't start in Maryland my first 2 years. And I was top 3 in ACC in sacks. Yeah. Wow. And I didn't start until my junior year, and because everybody knew I was going to leave at some point.
Yeah.
They knew the first day I walked on campus because I had so much buzz in the D.C., Maryland, Virginia area that they knew that the first time I got a shot that I was gone. And I didn't start, and so every day I had to work my ass off to get in that starting position. And by the way, my freshman year I had 3 sacks against North Carolina, and I went back to the bench. You get what I'm saying? And so in this day and age, I wake up one day and you know what? I'm out of here.
Yeah.
And so you jump in the transfer portal. So again, I had to literally fight my ass off to get on the field. Even though I was top leading AC.
Who was
top 3.
Friesian?
It was Rob Friesian.
Yeah.
And it was known, and everybody would probably make a bigger deal about it to me by not starting because they knew I was going to the NFL.
The old school though.
Yeah, and hey, let's try to keep him there as long as we
sure.
can. And they knew as soon as they let me on that field, I was gone. But again, I look back at it now and I appreciate it because I had to, I got the Terps Strongest Man Award. I broke all the records and stuff like that, and I had to work my ass off. So in one day, I just said, you know what, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm gonna go somewhere else. I don't think I would have been where I'm at.
Yeah.
Because I had to fight.
Sure.
I want to know from your perspective, I always wanted to ask players this, is how do you think NIL affects the kid themselves going into the league? Because when you go into the league and you're not making money, you're, it's like you're a rookie, you get it, the respect thing, all this stuff. But some of these guys, if you're making 2, 3, 4 million and whatever, I guess, how do you think it affects them?
I think eventually it'll take the dog out of them just a little bit because where I came from,
or almost be disrespectful in a way.
Well,
you know what I mean?
Unappreciative.
Unappreciative.
Yeah,
Maybe
yeah.
that's it.
And I think a lot of kids where I came from, we had to do to get out of our circumstance. Growing up in Prince George's County, Washington D.C. area in the late '80s and '90s, it was terrible. The crack epidemic hit D.C. first. It was bad.
Yeah.
I mean, hell, man, my neighborhood that I lived in, 2 neighborhoods down, they were top 5 murder capital in the country for 5 years.
Damn.
Wow.
And so not even the area, that particular place.
Yeah.
Right.
Like this neighborhood.
That,
right?
like that right there.
Yeah.
And so, you played sports as a mean to get a free education
And to get out.
and get out. And so when you're young, you don't. First of all, when you're young that way, you don't fully appreciate anything yet.
Sure.
You just don't yet. Until you grow into the appreciation, the gratitude side of it, you don't appreciate a lot of things yet. So giving a kid who has not proven himself yet everything on the table, it's not really going to get him to appreciate it yet.
Right.
Because at any point in time, which I think they should change the NIL, hey, you know what? If he took this money and he goes somewhere else, he got to get that money back.
Yeah. No,
That's what's going to change the ball game.
Sure.
When it becomes business to business,
Yeah.
now all the kids going to finally understand, hey, you can't just do
Do you
this.
remember
be a
when
businessman.
you and I were watching? It was a bowl game, and it was a kid coming off the field, and he got into a fight with his coach. And it was the D coordinator, the special teams coach, and then
That happened in the NFL game
that happened
too.
with the Texans. But
Yeah.
there was 2 different segments that happened. One was in a bowl game, one was with the Texans.
Yeah.
And then him and I were in the gym. We were kind of talking about that. Just the culture shift of almost these young entitled high school kids now. But you brought up a great point, and I remember this was specifically you saying, if you give these kids this type of money, why not put it in a trust where they can't touch it until they get through? So that actually would make sense if you just, hey, we're dumping money in something, you gain interest on it, but you can't touch it
But
until
they're kids, they're not
you're
businessmen.
kids.
And this is why I said that, because I had a lot of vultures around me when I was that age.
Sure.
When you come from where I come from, you got a lot of tag-alongs.
Sure.
You got a lot of tag-alongs. People feel entitled. Family and friends feel very entitled that because they were around you at that time, they expect something. And when you have that money, you have the guilt, that survivor's remorse, right? That you were the one to make it from your circumstances, from the neighborhood, from your school, from your family. You start to feel the entitlement, but at that age, I would have gave it right over.
Right.
Yeah.
If family or some of my close friends, I wouldn't even thought about it. If I had it, you got it. And that's not the mentality to have. This is my money. I earned this.
Right.
And it took me a long time to understand. It took me my first couple of years in the league before I started cutting people off.
Sure.
I was taking care of a lot of people.
I bet.
And because, you coming from where I came from, you feel a duty to do it. And so if you get $1 million from a school or even $500,000,
Sure.
if someone call you up and they need 10, you like, I got 500,000. What's 10 to me? But when 10 people ask for 10,000, you don't understand how that money adds up. And that's why I think that why I brought up when we talked about the trust, because you get a chance to understand like your surroundings, and I didn't understand just yet.
But do you feel like the level of entitlement of the young players now, especially if, like you were saying earlier, if a little adversity hits, bro, they're gone. They're in the transfer portal. Like that's that. Like
that's why I respect Archie so much.
Sitting around.
Yeah, he's sitting behind Quinn Ewers. He could go start literally in almost every team in the country.
My point is, like, when he was playing in the you know, like Florida State, if you were the quarterback, you were a redshirt junior. Right? Like you went through the program, you went through the system.
Think about the 01 Miami team.
Oh,
they all stayed. And there was 50 fucking NFL guys on that team. They all stayed. All sat around waiting.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Real quick, we touched on it a bit, but who else were you getting recruited by? You did stay home, but who were you getting recruited by?
I'll tell you one thing.
You have any Jesus Shuttlesworth recruitment trips?
No, Miami wanted me to come down for a visit, and that would have been definitely Jesus Shuttlesworth. And I was like, no, thank you. And you know, it got to the point where they were coming like the schools were coming to my basketball games.
Wow.
You know, and I had some offers in basketball.
That was my next question. Was anybody trying to tail you in for both?
I
mean, Maryland they had a fucking great basketball team.
I went to my Maryland football coach and I asked him to play both ways because I was a big fan of Julius Peppers.
Oh yeah.
Because that's what he did in North Carolina. And I was like, man, I should be able to do this. My coach shot that shit down so fast. But yeah, so I was recruited in both. But football was a way to me because I actually loved it. I was just good at basketball. I didn't love it.
Right.
You know, I was good. I was athletic. I can, vertical crazy, and I was a good defensive player. Yeah, I was like Ben Wallace, right? I was like Ben Wallace before Ben Wallace, but I had that style game, and but I didn't love it as much as I did football, man. The fact to be able to inflict pain on another human being was it for me. It got me up in the morning. I mean,
fucking love that.
And so it was.
No wonder you like MMA so much.
It's something about football that, look, we had guys in high school that would sometimes go out and try for football because they wanted girls.
Sure.
Some of them came over from track or whatever. So you see that first time somebody go across the middle, they get their bell rung.
Oh.
I've seen guys take their shoulder pads and cleats off on the field and never return.
It's not for me.
It's like getting dunked on. They're like, yeah, I'm done. I'm out.
But yo, bro, you've seen them hits before. You're like, that's gonna end that dude's career.
Because it will tell you if you want to do this shit or not.
Right.
Yeah.
Those dog days in training camp was 100 degrees outside, and they got you running 100-yard gases. And you're looking to see how close you are to God because it's so damn hot out there. You're dry. And so
the PVC pipe hooked to the fucking garden hose.
Oh, with the little fucking holes all the way through. It's like 25 holes.
Yeah.
And everybody got their mouth up.
Like your fucking dogs trying to get a nipple.
And it's the best tasting shit you've ever had in your life.
100%.
You would have thought they sent this water from Antarctica.
Like a pan of water.
It's the best water in the world. And so I think
funny.
that, and so to answer your question earlier, that's why I wanted my son to play football. People ask me all the time, like, would you let your son? Like, yes. What I've got from the game of football far outweighs anything that might put my body through.
100%.
Wow. That's a good way to look at it.
That football to me personally is the closest thing. For one, you'll get to life and to a lot of other things because you don't like all your teammates.
Right.
Like, you're all not friends.
Yep.
Guess what? In the real world, being an entrepreneur, building a company, you don't like everybody you work with, but you learn how to work with them.
Yep.
Everybody got to you got to lead a team. So all the things, man. I really do believe that football is like one of the closest things to life.
Yeah.
Who was some of your looking back when you were a rookie? But like, who was the veteran leader in the locker room for the Chargers that you looked up to?
We had so many, man. We had literally. Like, and I hate tossing that GOAT shit around. Like it's just everybody's a GOAT, right? You do something, have one big play, you're the GOAT. I'm talking about like real GOATs, like real dudes, just like you walk in and you like, ain't no damn way. And you walk in and you see LaDainian Tomlinson, you see Antonio Gates, you see Phillip Rivers, Lorenzo Neal.
Quinn Jammer was on that team?
Jam was on there who don't get talked about enough.
Yeah.
Dude, we walking in there, you like, what? Randall Godfrey, Donnie Edwards, Jamal Williams.
Yeah.
They're like something that people don't even talk about anymore. And then our running back,
was Breeze there your first year?
Yeah, and Breeze. I mean, fuck me. I mean,
Harrison.
Dude, listen, you walked in, you seen real live GOATs.
Yeah.
Guys who are Hall of Famers. And so I walked in the locker room and, I'm seeing all these guys. You feel like you're walking into like a movie, right? You like this, what? And our running back position was so stacked, dude. We had LaDainian starting, Michael Turner second, and Darren Sproles
was your third string. Yeah.
Bro, you got to be a stacked ass team to be that way.
And both them went and got paid, right?
Yeah,
Falcons and Eagle or Saints. One of the two.
Keenan McCardell was it there. Yeah. I mean, dude, we were loaded with just people with just real life veterans.
Vincent Jackson
came in with Luis Castillo, came in with me. We
that was your class, right?
Yeah, it was 05.
Were you there with seau, or did he just leave? I
missed him by 1 year.
Ah, man.
But it's funny though. So my rookie year during training camp, seau had his. He didn't call it retiring. He called it graduating. And I'm listening to him have his quote unquote retirement speech. I'm like, nah, something not right. He said he's graduated. He's not retiring.
Yeah.
I approached him. I went to him and I asked him, would he consider coming back? And I wanted to play with him just 1 year.
Yeah.
I would have done anything to play with seau.
Yeah.
And I thought he was really done, and I think a few weeks later he ended up signing with the Dolphins, and then he ended up playing like 6 or 7 more years, like some crazy.
Play with the Patriots too,
dude,
right?
I found out everything about when I got to San Diego because I knew how much. Now, watching him as a football player, I already knew what type of guy he was on the field, but I didn't know how big Junior Seau was in San Diego because this is my first time there.
Oceanside boy,
dude. Let me tell you, you're talking about like a real life superhero, like somebody that was like bigger than life when you talk about seau, because he came there, and the two biggest names and people that came through San Diego was Junior Seau and Tony Gwynn.
Yeah,
It don't get much bigger than them. And so I went to seau, man. I was even willing to like put up some of my salary to play with him,
just to get
a year with him. And I got all of his doctors, his trainers, his therapists. I found out what he was eating, when he was sleeping, everything.
Wow.
And I hired them all.
Crazy.
Did you ever get to like actually train with him and stuff?
Yeah. He had these breakfast. He was, dude, even in 12, 13 and 14 and shit, it was just, he was just different, bro. He was like full time, full speed, full everything all the time. And he had these breakfast club workouts he'll do before everybody else comes in.
Wow.
Like just crazy shit, man. And again, I was around him, and then Lorenzo Neal took me under his wing.
That was a bad motherfucker.
And let me tell you, man, Lo Neal, even if it's in his 12th or 13th year, will go in and kick my ass in the gym. Dude, we would get after it all the time. And so I had some good OGs around me.
Yeah, I remember awesome. We played Oceanside when they retired his number, and I remember the entire like Oceanside,
all of San Diego,
bro, was all there. They were like parachuting coming in. It was a high school football game, but this was it for Junior, bro. He was the king of San Diego for sure. Was Harrison already gone too?
Yeah, he was gone. Yeah, he was gone as well.
What was the draft process like for you? Was it always San Diego, or who else did you work out for?
Yeah, well, I thought initially I was going to go to Dallas, the Cowboys.
Oh, okay.
And so I took a couple of visits during my draft. Went to the Lions, the then Redskins, now Commanders, San Diego, and Dallas. And so I thought actually I was going to go to Dallas, but again, Mike Tice was with the Vikings, and so Mike Tice played at the University of Maryland. So I was all over. I knew I was going to go somewhere in the top 15, but I just didn't know where. And even the 49ers were calling up for the first pick overall. And so they picked Alex Smith because they needed a quarterback.
Right.
And so I ended up later talking to the team of personnel, and they were telling me, said, Shawne, we really want to pull that trigger on you. But we needed a quarterback.
Yeah.
But they always felt that, I probably should have been number one or somewhere in that top 3 or 4.
Yeah. Now, scheme-wise, was it always going to be a 3-4?
Yeah, they ran like a hybrid, but I could play both. I mean, I played in college around like 248-ish, 250 or something, around 250. But my first time, I signed with Gary Wishard. Gary Wishard had Jason Taylor, Terrell Suggs. He had just like animals, all of them. Right. He signed Darren Sproles, Pac-Man. We all signed all at the same time. I came out to LA, and so I was staying in Marina Del Rey. Me, Pac-Man, Travis Johnson, then they're going to the Texans, and Darren Sproles. We were all training together. We were lift at what's the big gym out there in LA, in Marina?
Gold's?
At the Gold's gym. Sorry, the Gold's gym. And so we would lift weights like early, and then we would go do our field work at Santa Monica College. And this one I knew that Pac-Man he's one of my favorite people in the world, man. Pat crazy as hell, but got the biggest heart in the world. And he's sitting up there rolling up in between workouts. And so I'm like, dude, how do you do this shit and going like, dude, if I'm gonna sit in the corner somewhere. I can't do this shit. Like I had to like plug my nose, dude. It was just but it was and he's my brother, man. So one of the best people. But we trained together all the time. And so I weighed in at the combine at 272.
Wow.
Damn.
And you played at 250?
And in college, I was around 250. So I got first time I had a trainer, like a full on. I was eating it was crazy. And so I was lifting weights like with a lot of the bodybuilders at Gold's.
Yeah.
If you go to the Gold's gym right now, I got like my jersey right there in the middle.
That's dope.
Wow.
Up on the top. And I was lifting with the bodybuilders, but I would go train and run drills with Darren Sproles and Pac-Man.
Yeah.
So when I got there to the combine and I stepped on the scale, you heard a pin drop.
Right.
Because people didn't know whether I'm going to play linebacker or defensive end. They were like, who the fuck, like how?
Yeah.
You know? And then I ran a 4.58 and a 4.6.
Unreal, bro.
At 272.
Unfucking
and
real.
I had a 41.5 inch vertical. So
6'5", 272, ran a 4.58. Jesus
and
Christ.
so people were just like, they were like, what the fuck? Just like people didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
You know, and so my pro day, I did everything in my pro day. I jumped the vertical and I did the bench, I think 28 or 29 times at the combine. But I worked out in my pro day. And so it was so many like GMs, owners, the field was just flooded.
Yeah.
And so coincidentally, we had guys get drafted higher because there was so many people.
Right.
It was some guys who wasn't even on the map.
Yeah.
And ended up getting drafted because
people came and watched.
Yeah. And that was one of the reasons why I chose to do it at the pro day, man, because we had a lot of guys that get drafted or moved up in a draft
because of that.
So I didn't work out at the combine for that reason.
Where's your draft class rank in amongst the great draft classes? Because you guys had some, had some studs in 05, right? 05?
05. Yeah, DeMarcus Ware came out that year.
Yeah. Rogers, Alex Smith.
Yeah. We were up there, man. A bunch of guys. A bunch of guys came out. We were stacked.
You guys were stacked. I know you've told the story 100 times, but it's just the greatest story. Your rookie dinner bill.
Yeah.
I guess my first question is, who was like the main culprit? Who was the guy that kept ordering the shit
Jamal Williams.
and get you?
Jamal actually was throwing them back with me and eating with me. You know who got me good was Drew Brees' ass. Drew got me good.
New Orleans legend.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, that's my dude, man. Drew, I love Drew. He had 2 bottles of wine that I didn't know were $1,000 a piece. Right? Dude, I just turned 21. How the fuck am I supposed to know like that there a $1,000 bottle of wines even existed?
Yeah.
Like I'm like wine. You see them at the liquor store, like $50.
Yeah.
In a restaurant, you're thinking like, okay, $150, but big deal, right? Whatever. Both of them shits were $1,000 of wine. He walked out like he left the grocery store and shit at the end. But it never clicked. It never dawned on me because I was already mentally distraught about the bill. Yeah. Right? So I didn't give a shit at that point.
Right.
I'm already hurt, so go ahead. You know, at that point, the pain threshold is fucking through the roof. And so I'm sitting there, and big Jamal Williams, though, we sitting there eating shit. I remember, Jamal Williams had food in his beard and shit.
Yeah.
I just remember it, man, and it was Gates, and that's when I ordered a bottle, the 3 bottles of Louis XIII. So, dude, I didn't fuck like.
How much of those bottles, by the way?
I mean, it was cheap then at like $3,000 a piece.
Cheap
in the restaurant.
Yeah.
Now I think they're like $9,000.
Yeah. Right.
You go get to one of those bottles from restaurants, $9,000. So I guess I got off easy.
So you're 11 grand in just in 2 bottles of wine and 3 bottles of Louis XIII.
So you don't know, like you don't know shit. You don't know anything, right? So I'm just having a good time. And then the truth is, this is why they went so hard on me, because I didn't show up till 2 weeks before the first preseason game.
Oh, that's right.
I was holding out.
Yeah.
And so I saw Philip Rivers saying some stuff in the media and like a bunch of like side comments and shit. And in fact, I was so pissed off when I got there, I was ready to hit anybody.
Yeah.
Right? Because I saw him talking. I was like, man, these dudes just don't know me.
Yeah.
Right? I'm not the one. I'm just not, And like it's not like I don't want to be there. It's not like I think I'm big shit, but it's this injury clause that basically if I was to get hurt in practice, that they don't have to cover my guaranteed money. Mm-hmm. And my agent was like, don't go. Do not show up. Yeah. And so I'm calling my agent I'm arguing with my agent every day.
Because you want to go.
Because I want to go, and I know how this shit looks. You're a rookie, you got this, persona, this name, your 12th overall pick, and I just know it looks bad. But when I started to see, some of the things being said in the media by my going-to-be teammates, that really pissed me off.
Sure.
And so we got there. The first day I got there was the first day they issued pads, full pads. It was the first day of full pads. We got 3,000 or 4,000 people out there practice, right? And so now I'm like, anybody can get it. Anybody I touch today is gonna get it.
Yep.
Anybody. I don't care who in front of me, right?
You smacked LT?
Nope. Now I do got a funny story with that. One-on-one drills. And do Lorenzo Neal. And so I'm pissed off, right? So first of all, I'm going through the bags. Everybody, the crowd, just first time they see me in person, the crowd just, every little shit I do, I catch a football, they clapping, they screaming. I go through the bags, they're clapping and screaming. And I was like, in my head, back of my head, I was like, I just want to fucking hit somebody right now.
Yeah.
Fuck these drills, fuck this, fuck that. I want to hit somebody right now. So we go to one-on-one drills against the fullbacks and running backs, and Lorenzo Neal gets up there. And at this time, I'm like, I don't care who I hit now at this point because I'm pissed off.
Right.
We go through the running back drills, and to his credit, you're supposed to make a move and go around him like a pass rush.
Yeah.
Dude, I blew Low Neal up in front of the crowd. Boom.
Fuck.
And I'm over him, and you just hear all the rest of like, oh, shit. And the crowd's clapping, and I get up, and I'm like, that was my first time I got a chance to hit anybody.
Right.
So now I just want to hit people.
Right.
Because I'm so pissed off. And big mistake.
Yeah.
Fucking terrible mistake, man. I go back up there in the drills the second time, and it was another running back in front of Low Neal. Low Neal grabs him, pushes him out the way.
And now he's carrying.
He's back. So I said, all right, you want some more of this shit? Come on. So we go in it. I try to do my same thing, jig a little bit, and I try to run right down the middle of him, and it was like me running into that damn wall.
Yeah.
I'm not lying. I mean, I ran into a wall before. That shit is very similar. Dude.
Y'all broke the sound barrier.
It was
like a sonic boom.
I never to my adult life felt no shit like that before ever. Where the blood rushed to front of my face. My face was hot. My fingers and shoulders were tingling. Dude, and I'm like, what the hell just happened? Like, what just happened? I've been up against all the best, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, all of them on the college level.
Right.
Sure.
But Low Neal was a different beast. So you're talking about like somebody 5'10", 5'11", 255.
Just a bowling ball.
Cannonball.
Rocked up. And just had bad intentions, dude, when he wanted to punish you. And that was it. We never... Dude, he changed my mindset, dude, like that. Man, like shit. It was like, some people.
Calm down,
young fella.
Yeah.
So we actually we had this agreement called brother-in-law. I'm sure you heard it, brother-in-law, where all the hidden drills we were supposed to thud up and do, like, we pulled up like a yard in front of each other, and we stopped. And the coaches never said nothing to us.
Yeah, they knew.
Because they knew if we kept going at each other like we're supposed to, that somebody wasn't gonna make it to the game.
Yeah.
And so we had this thing, brother-in-law, and we were the only ones really that the coaches didn't say one thing. If I got in my gap and I was supposed to be at a certain place and he made his block and I wasn't going to make the play, trying to be a hero, that was it.
Yep.
Because they knew that when the time was coming that we was gonna get it, man. But yeah, Low Neal, man, that was something I've never felt.
Was Marty the coach?
Marty Shawne Merriman was coach, yeah.
Yeah. Damn, that's a great story. So then he got his lick back. Then they got you with a $30,000
32,
bill.
yeah. 32. And do you know what's so funny? Like, I travel a lot, so sometimes your credit card decline. If
Right,
you're like, sometimes I'll be in 2 different cities or states in the same day.
Sure.
So you do something here and do something there, and then probably going to
Like,
some
wait a
fraud
minute,
check or something
yeah.
like that. I was praying for my shit to decline.
Please decline.
Where were you guys at?
I had my at Papa Moose Grill in Del Mar.
Okay.
I've never prayed for my shit to decline. And I'm sitting there thinking like, they're not gonna let 32,000 run.
Yeah.
Right? I'm like, there's no way. There's no way. They gotta call me, because I was already thinking in my head. I was drinking already a little bit, and I was thinking in my head, I'm like, okay, if they decline it, I can go work out a deal or something like that.
Yeah.
I was like, I can try to get some of this stuff taken off. That shit went through. It went through. And nobody called me. Nobody, like, I didn't get a text, like a fraudulent.
Nothing.
They didn't
Nothing.
check,
Nobody called. And I thought, you guys declined my shit for $200 before.
Yeah.
You know, if I'm in
Yeah.
a different city or state.
Yeah.
32,000 and nobody, like,
For a cup of coffee, I've got to decline. Like,
nobody,
wait a
I
minute.
mean, I was so pissed.
That's crazy.
I was so pissed.
I want to know what the
man.
next day was like. Did you wake up and be like, was that a dream?
Dude,
Did that really happen?
no, I'm gonna tell you this. I've never told anybody. So at the end of that dinner, LT kind of literally like stood up on a chair and was he did ease the moment because he stood up on a chair and was telling everybody like how much they're gonna need me there and how big of a part of the team I was gonna be. So that moment
cool.
Sure.
was really, really cool. But I'm gonna tell you. That was like I had a flashback to LT's Hall of Fame speech. I had a flashback of him standing up on that damn chair of that rookie dinner, man. But no, we had some great guys, man. I had some great older guys kind of took me by the horn.
That's amazing. So what was that first season like? I mean, you know, you obviously make a huge impact, you know, defensive rookie of the year, but you know, what was it like, you know, going from college to the pros? What was there like a shock transition or anything like that? What was the
It actually physically on the field it became easier. Because and it's normally the opposite way. You gotta pick up the speed of the game. Because in college, I played this position called Leo.
Sure.
Where you're in the 2-point stance, hit over a tight end. So you might have to take on a fucking double team from a tight end and a tackle. Like just driving you off the ball. And I have to go out and run with running backs or tight ends down the field. I mean, dude, I had to run with Vernon Davis in practice.
Yeah.
Think about that. He ran at 250, ran a 4.37.
Yeah, they do. Wow.
Just ridiculous. It's probably between him and Antonio Cromartie, the greatest athletes I've been around, type. And so when I got to the pros, they actually just wanted me to make plays. You know, they had a scheme and stuff like that. But most importantly, like they brought me in to get after the quarterback.
Disrupt it.
They had to disrupt. They want me to just blow shit up. That's why they brought me in because we had a player there, Ben Lieber, who actually,
remember Ben, yeah,
who was actually pretty good.
K-State boy, wasn't he?
Yeah, and ended up going to have a really good career with the Vikings after. And Ben did everything right. Like he did everything right. He was in the gap where he's supposed to be. He was the most technically sound player. Like he's so very smart. But I saw why they brought me in. And so I said, okay, well, they don't want me to do that. They want me to go back there and make plays. And so I think the biggest adjustment, man, I came in late and I could not catch up from the playbook.
Really?
It was so damn hard, man, because playing the Sam linebacker, I had to know responsibilities of both Sam and Will in case of strong side, weak side. And it was so bad the first couple of days. They literally Marty Schottenheimer, Greg Minuski, who's our linebacker coach, John Pagano, who was the coach there too, and Marty and Wade Phillips. They all brought me in a room, and they said, "Look, this is what we want you to do. We want you to see ball, go ball.
Scramble the fucking
Easy
eggs,
enough.
baby.
That's it." They said we'll get you lined up.
Yeah.
And this how they had to, because I could not catch up. I couldn't. It was so fast, and then somebody audible, somebody moving, and now the strong side is here, and the next thing you know, the ball is hiked.
Yeah.
So you better know your shit right away. So I struggled, and they brought me to the room. And they said, "We know you can make plays. That's why we brought you here. We see it. But when we call your name, you go. When we don't call your name, you don't." That was my playbook, dude, for like the first 4 to 6 weeks.
That's such smart coaching, though.
Yeah.
Like, you have talent. You know who's the athlete. And just dumb it down. Not saying you're a dummy, but like, hey, we're going to put him in that.
It was tough. It was the playbooks are this big.
Yeah.
You know, so now you got to know like also what's going on behind you, and who got your help around. If you're blitzing, who's going to cover you. It was a lot. It was a lot for me to learn. But that's what you talk about great coaching, man. Like Wade Phillips, I played for some of the best. John Pagano, Greg Minuski.
Was Wade always a 3-4 guy?
Always, yeah.
Always.
Wow.
You know, just because like my dad ran a lot of 3-4, explain the importance of having a guy like Jamal Williams in A gap.
Dude, he doesn't get talked about enough in the history of the game.
Because of his position in that defense, like he takes
It's so dirty.
It's
It's a very dirty position.
He allows you to be you.
And guess where Jamal Williams is from?
Maryland?
Washington, D.C. Right there.
Oh, wow.
20 minutes away.
Crazy.
You know, but that's when we talk about that area, like crazy. But
crazy.
When people ask me about my career and stuff, man, I gotta bring up Jamal.
Sure.
Yeah.
Because he allowed me to go out there and be one-on-one with guys.
Right.
Where they couldn't double team me.
Yep.
You know, we had guys like Shawne Phillips out there on the opposite side of me. So if you want to double team me or triple team me and get into that, I know that Shawne could be the one-on-one.
Right.
I forgot about that guy.
You know?
Well, it's just the scheme-wise, the importance of having a true meat eater in the middle in the 3-4 takes up a gap, and it allows these guys to go just disrupt and make chaos.
Just go get the ball.
Yeah, it was interesting because like obviously in high school you don't get a recruit, you play to personnel. So my dad's schemes were always very different depending on who was going to high school with us. But that was his favorite defense to run, is if he could get a true 3-4 and he can just create chaos with the rest of them.
And you got to be a dog at the outside linebacker in a 3-4 because not only do you have to be a pass rusher, but you also got to be the cover at times.
Yeah, drop out. Yeah.
You got to be able to drop out, cover the flat, sometimes cover the seams and tight ends.
And you had Cromartie and Jammer.
Yep.
Bro, I mean,
Bro,
just imagine the shit you can do just with
shit.
Jammer, and you go, oh, bro, I can just lock up this one side of the field and just create chaos over here.
Wow.
Right? Like having a corner that can do that.
Damn, I guess I forgot how loaded that team was.
E-Dub, Eric Weddle, who's another
Weddle
sleeper dude.
was in the secondary too?
Yeah, dude. And when when he got there, he like Eric Weddle didn't look like a football out of pads. He didn't look like a football. You've seen him walking in, you would never think he was in the NFL. He didn't look like an NFL player.
Right.
Dude, he get on that field. I remember the first play he made in practice, and I was looking around like, did you see
that fucking white boy?
Flying around, head hunting, just always around the ball.
Yeah.
And smart as hell, man. And just, one of the best players I got a chance to play with.
Nice.
Wow. Damn. I guess I just forgot how loaded that team was.
Yeah.
What was your relationships like with, LT, Gates, Rivers? Like you said, Rivers was kind of throwing jabs in the beginning when you were holding out. Did you guys end up developing a good relationship?
Well, Philip Rivers played at NC State, and I hated him.
Yeah.
Hated him. Because as a player, you when you watch film, you got these two views. You got a vertical and horizontal view, but there's no sound. So you're watching just the formations.
So you didn't know how much of a shit talker he was?
But you see him always on film, chirping and doing this and patting guys on the head, walking up behind him, talking shit. I was like, dude, I'm going to fucking hurt this guy.
Yeah.
I'm going to hurt him when we play him. Like, I got to get him. In fact, there's one like iconic picture, dude. When we played them, this last game that he played us, we won at the end of the game. And I did a spin move. I think a tight end or something was blocked me. I did a spin move, and I hit Philip Rivers in the back of the end zone at the end of the game. And as I'm getting off of him, I push off of his chest. Push off of him, right? So I walk away, and I felt somebody grab and twist my ankle. Dude, he grabbed. So I had to literally kick him off.
He heel hooked you.
I said, what this who? I said, what? I'm like, no way.
Yeah.
No way he did this shit. So we got up, and I'm talking back to him, and we get up in the back of the end zone. We face off, and he's ready to go. He's ready to throw down. I said, hold on. I went from hating this guy to absolute loving. I was like, this guy got some shit with him, man.
He's nuts.
He's with it. Yeah. And then you know what? I talked to, when I got drafted by the Chargers, and I talked to a lot of Philip Rivers' teammates at NC State. They were like, die for this dude, man. Like, you couldn't, nobody say anything bad about him. It was like everybody loved him.
Yeah.
And I got there with the Chargers first year, and I seen why. He's like one of the guys, like, I don't give a shit win or lose. You want to walk in the dark alley with somebody, he throwing down.
Yeah.
He's with the shits all the time.
Yeah.
And so he's just the ultimate. And he's such a competitor, dude. It went off of the field. It wasn't even like during practice, he'll talk back and forth with you all the time. You knew every day in practice, Phil had something for you.
Yeah.
Whether the offense was winning or losing, whether we win or losing, like he's gonna be there, like competing, talking. But it went as far as, man, we're playing the Seattle Seahawks and Walter Jones.
Oh yeah.
And him and LT would both of them do this shit to me all the time. Just tell about like our relationship. So during the season, you don't lift weights heavy. You just you got to get your 3 workouts in during a week just to maintain during the season. So I'm in there lifting. I got the I got the 120 dumbbells on the bench, and I'm just like my last set of 8, right? So I crank out 8. So in the middle, I got them down on my thighs, and Philip goes by and tapped me. He said, "You ain't gonna do no more Walter Jones that week with those 120s." I'm like, fuck. So they were. That was our. Like, we just always push each other, man. Like I said, I had some guy. LT would do the same thing. For me. Like I'll go in there out 315 on the bench, and I'll just be repping it off my last set for 8 or 10 or whatever we had. And LT would walk by me and say, "Hey, we got Shawn Alexander's back there.
Yeah.
Shit, he gonna rush for 200 with
that
with that 315." So I'm like, man, what the fuck?
I love that.
But that was us. And Gates would do the same thing for me. And Gates is about to get inducted in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
And dude, I thought, I was like, you know what? I just left Vernon Davis in college, and I had to see him every day, which is a headache.
Right. Fucking athlete.
Just a crazy athlete. And then you get up there with fucking Antonio Gates. And you're like, man, this is not real.
This is crazy.
You know? So by the time I got to the games, it was easy because you already seen the best.
Yeah.
You know, and people don't even talk about, we talk about a stacked team. We had Chris Dillman at guard.
Yeah.
Nick Hardwick at center. We had Mike Goff. You know, everybody up there, Pro Bowl guys. Marcus McNeil, bro. Like, nobody even talk about at Auburn.
Yep.
Dude, like, if he didn't hurt his back, he would have been an easy Hall of Famer by now.
Left tackle, right?
Left tackle.
Yeah.
Dude, 6'7", 330, and move like a tight end. And as soon as you get out of your stance, his hands are on you immediately. That's how long his arms were. And so if he didn't hurt his back, man, he would have been a Hall of Famer. So I had to see these guys every day.
Right.
And we used to get after. Dude, I actually, Chris Dillman pissed me off one day so much in practice. And we used to call him Big Dirty. If you stand by the piles or anything like that, you better have your head on the swivel because you know Chris is coming to take your damn head off. Own teammates, it didn't matter. Just tuck your shit in because he's coming, right? So he pissed me off one day in practice. And so they were running a play, and he was kind of sitting back on his heels. He's the opposite guard from where I was.
Okay.
So I knew he was about to pull. He's sitting back. He's leaning in the stand. So I saw him from the opposite. Because you look down the line of scrimmage, his ass a little bit further back than everybody else. Yeah. I was like, oh, they about to run I'm going to fucking knock his ass right to the... So, man, I went as hard as I could, and I tried to blow his shit up. Because he'd done so me, not just to me, to everybody. He was a mother. I'm so glad he was on my team.
Yeah.
This is for all of us, right? And I see him, and I go straight down the line of scrimmage. I don't even look at it. I probably could have made it. I was off the line of scrimmage so fast, I probably could have made the play in the back. I didn't even look back there. I was looking for Chris, flat down the line of scrimmage. Yeah. And I try to blow his shit up. Again, that wall right there felt very similar. Right? Dude, my helmet slid down, and I broke my nose.
Oh, shit.
And so, like, my nose is like, I got my shield on. There's blood all over my shield. My fucking nose is this way. And so, it was not his fault. It was my fault for being a jerk. I look back at him. He's like, man, you all right? Fuck you. I couldn't even get him when I wanted to. When I wanted to get him. But man, we had such a great team.
How was that locker room for you guys? As far as, you know, I'm always interested in hearing how alphas police alphas, especially in our environment, in our gym. Who was like your vocal leaders, but who was your leaders that just led by example?
LT was for sure the example guy. But whenever he spoke, you could hear a pin drop because he didn't speak all the time.
He's like the E-gay.
Yeah, he catch a ball out the backfield and run a ball in the end zone 30 yards every time. You know, just work every day, just always working. So he was the example guy. Well, you had the Nick Hardwick, our center. I was the last one out the tunnel, and I actually requested that when I got in. It was a 7-8 year vet, DeQuincy Scott, who came out last normally. And when I got there, I said, "No, I'm coming out last now." And they looking at me like, "Fuck, who did?" Yeah, you know, it's like, oh, okay. So they ended up letting me come out last.
What's the significance of that? Like, is there like a thing in the locker room?
So my first game that I went to my sophomore year when I was at Frederick Douglass High School up in Marlboro, Maryland, PG County, my coaches said, they asked me, do you want to go see a linebacker play? A real linebacker. And I was like, yeah. So we went to the Ravens game, and I saw Ray Lewis. And so we didn't have any money like that at the time, so we sat up there. I could have changed light bulbs and shit if I wanted to. We were like 3 or 4 seats from way that we're so high that you look over, you feel nauseous. Yeah. We were that high.
We were close to heaven.
They all scraped some money together and took me because they wanted me to see Ray.
Yeah.
And I was watching football at the time, but not as much as a fan I became. Sure. And that 2000s Ravens team was stacked with everybody. Tony Saragusa and Sharper, and they had Big Sam Adams, I think, was on that team. Peter Boulware, Ray. I mean, they were stacked on that defense side of the ball. Jamar Roll. Yeah. Chris McAllister.
Yeah. Oh, another dude.
Yeah.
U of A boy.
Him too. I forgot about him.
Chris McAllister.
Ed
so
Reed.
they were stacked, bro.
Was Ed Reed on that team?
I think he was.
I think he was still in Miami. Ed Reed.
Maybe he was. He might have been there.
I think Sapp just left. He was with
Jamal Lewis.
Jamal Lewis.
I mean, they were stacked, dude.
Yeah.
And
Damn.
I was my first NFL game I went to, and they was calling all the guys out, just introducing the defense. And everybody was loud, so people went crazy, Sam Adams and Tony Siragusa and Chris McAllister. And then this last,
Ray did
my
that shimmy.
coach just said, wait a second, just wait. And I said, what? What do you mean? What's about to happen? And they got, all the music got completely quiet, and everybody started to yell. And this smoke came out, and Ray came out, and they were, Nelly, it's getting hot. And he out there doing the scroll. And then fireworks is going off and shit. And so, dude, I used to always laugh at people when they go to Michael Jackson concerts and shit. I'm like, dude, he's like, why are you fainting and sweating and going crazy and shit?
Yeah.
Dude, I was about to faint. I was about to faint.
Well, it might be because of the oxygen level.
Probably that too. Probably that too. And dude, I just never saw one person get people out there, just take over, and it was almost like you were at a concert. And I had that feeling, and I took back everything I said about all those people at the Michael Jackson concerts or the Prince concert and shit, because I used to clown them, wow, this is the person. But when somebody can do that to you, make you get out the seat.
Yeah.
And after the game, I looked to my coaches and I said, I want to make people get up like that one day.
Yeah.
And so that's why I asked to come out last with the Chargers.
Wow. When did lights out become a thing for you?
My sophomore year, I knocked out 4 kids in the game. But that didn't. So it was like there was no social media and stuff then. So people it would just talk about it.
Yeah.
But it was like you didn't know if the shit was real or not because it sounds so crazy.
Right.
And then we had a Bojangles up with a chicken spot Bojangles up the street from our school. So we would go there sometime, and I'm standing in line, and he's like 3 or 4 people next to me. He's like, man, you hear about this Shawne Merriman kid at Douglas? Fucking lights out. Dude, did he really knock out 4? I don't know, man. I heard it was 5. The shit was building up. Right. It was just no, and they didn't know I was right next to him.
Right.
No one knew who I was yet because I was just kind of coming onto the scene. And I don't think it was to the first high school sports show, because they had these sports machines and these high school sports shows. It wasn't till that happened where it became like a statewide thing where everybody knew. Then my freshman year at the University of Maryland, we were playing Georgia Tech, and I was dropping in the flats. It was a Thursday night or Friday night ESPN game. First time doing fucking ESPN. I was like, I get in this game, I'm doing something. Right? And I wasn't starting again at the time, and we had Watkins, the wide receiver, and this is on YouTube. Watkins, the wide receiver, was trailing across the field, and I'm dropping the opposite side in the flat, and I seen him, and I said, oh my God, he don't see me.
Oh, he's dead.
Oh my God. As soon as he caught the ball and he turned and I was right there, and it's on YouTube, I blew him up. Boom!
Fucking ball flying.
And he went down. I mean, it was one of those things where you get that deep thump.
Yeah.
So the ones that's loud, I can always judge how hard the hit was by the sound of it.
Yeah.
Helmets and shit clash, and you're gonna get a big. When you hit somebody that's a thump, you've taken the soul out of them. You went through their body, you have now initiated contact on their soul, right? And so I hit him, and it wasn't loud. It was like, boom.
Yeah.
And he went back, he got up and went back down, and he just went over limping to the side of the field.
He had no air in him.
He was done. He was done. And I did this, pointed to the light switch, to my right forearm, and the crowd got kind of hyped, and I kind of started, jumping a little bit. Man, my coach lit my ass up.
There's a lot of lights going on.
Friesen came to the sideline, and we got a flag because I came off the field late because he subbed me out for doing that. So he blamed the flag on me. I said, you didn't have to take me out. But he told me, he said, if you ever do that shit again, you'll never play. I'm like, God damn, I went from being here to there. And I got to the sidelines, and so we had E.J. Henderson, also that I played with, who won the Buckets. And was on that team. DeQuell Jackson. Also played, a long time for the Colts and the Browns.
EJ was a great linebacker.
Dude, EJ was the best player, in my opinion, to come out of the University of Maryland that people don't know because he had a bad back injury and wasn't really the same. But he still played a long time in the NFL.
Yeah.
I came over there, and none of them would call me. They would always call me by my number, which is 44, or freshman. They'll say something, but they wouldn't never really give my credit until that. So I got on the sideline, and EJ and them fucking put their hand out. It was calling me lights out. And the same thing happened my rookie year, the Chargers. None of them, LT, Phil, Lorenzo Neal, nobody wanted to call me lights out. because they just call me Rook or 56.
Yeah.
Until our game against Priest Holmes against KC.
KC.
And I knocked out Priest Holmes. And he was out for 2 commercial breaks, bro. He was out. I mean, I still never got a check from the NFL for like all the commercials they got a chance to play doing that shit.
But they send you a fine?
Yeah. No, there's no fine because it was legal.
You back to hit back there.
And it was crazy is because Priest Holmes played for the Ravens. He was one of my favorite players.
Yeah.
You know, growing up. But, you know, business is business.
Sure.
And, I went out there, hit him, and he was out. And then I got to the sideline, and LT shook my hand and called me lights out.
Yeah.
And so I had to earn that.
Was that your first tattoo?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, my first one. I went to go beg my mom to let me get it. After the game, I knocked out the kids. And for 2 weeks, she told me to get the hell out the room, leave her alone. And I just wouldn't stop. I just, you know, until finally that second week, she went to go take me to get it.
That's crazy.
Hilarious. Bro, he said 2 commercial breaks. That's how we're judging time.
Well, bro, I think that was the first time that I was concerned. Like, he was holding on to the ball and his hands were twitching and like his eyes was rolled back in his head.
One of those hits.
And then this one, I don't know if I would share this with anybody, but I was up celebrating. It was a big hit. I was all in the shit. And I was excited. I got to the sideline and Marty Schottenheimer grabbed me by the face mask and said, "Hey, that was a hell of a hit. But don't forget that he got family and friends watching."
Sure.
Wow.
Sure.
And so, but it kind of brought me back down to, yeah, you're right. But yeah, so that was when that happened after that game. Everything kind of changed with the older guys.
Wow. You mentioned earlier you had a good LT story.
Yeah.
What happened? Was it in practice? Was it outside of practice?
So I was battling injury for a couple of years. I had a partially torn Achilles that nobody in the country wanted to do surgery on because I was still able to play. And so everybody, I went to see Ron Anderson, North Carolina, the best foot and ankle doctors, and they said, "Shawne, I just seen you the other day. You had a sack," or you know, so nobody wanted to touch it unless it fully ruptured.
Right.
And I said, "Dude, I'm in extreme pain every day. I got to take warm showers to walk straight. I'm sleeping in night splints. It was just bad, and I wanted to get surgery on it because I just knew I wasn't the same."
Right.
And so I finally made it back on the field, and LT told me, he said, "Hey, whenever you get 3 sacks again." Because I would normally, we always say sacks come in bundles, right? You go 2 or 3 games, no sacks, and you rip off 3, 2, 2, 3, you know, just come in bundles. L said, if you ever get 3 sacks again, because you know I had a tough time getting back on the field, I'll come on the middle of the field and I'll dance on the middle of the field. So I'm like, you full of shit. You know, you not LT. You know, this is L. We were playing the Raiders when I come back. I think it was in 2009 season, something like that, I think. Playing the Raiders, and I got like 2 sacks in the first half. So I'm on the way to get 3 or 4 of them again, right? And I still wasn't fully healthy back yet, but I was enough to play.
Are you reminding him of this during the game? Like, no.
But he remembered that he said that. This was like in the offseason. So I got my shield on, so you can't see my eyes when I'm playing this shit. I always kept the dark shield. And I look up, and I got 2 sacks, and we got like a commercial break or whatever it is. And I look up, LT is he's on the field, but almost in the middle of it, dancing like in circles, doing this shit. I couldn't believe what I was seeing, right? And so I started laughing so hard. And remember I had the shield, so the water was on my shield. I'm trying to wipe it, but I'm laughing. I had to come out the game. I had to come out the game because I was laughing so damn hard. Because awesome. I looked down and LT's like spinning. I said, I can't believe this shit is happening. And I'm trying to stop laughing, and I can't see out of my shield. I'm wiping it. It just wouldn't go away. And I came out the game for a play so I can get myself together, man. I was laughing so hard. But yeah, that was we just had that type of team and those type of players.
So it's cool. Connection for me was I was season ticket holder for the Chargers back then.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And the one thing that like I wanted to touch on, how tough was it to see the business side of the NFL because of that camaraderie and the teams and I mean, dude, the people that you guys had there, and then they're like, oh, we're gonna let this guy walk. You're like, Vincent Jackson, really? Like this, and then Shawne, and then it was Weddle, LT. You're like, what?
Sproles.
Yeah.
Sproles.
It was tough, man, because I used to always have it out with our general manager, AJ Smith.
Sure.
Like we did not like each other. And you know, he said some things in the media because I was always into doing TV. or doing stuff off the field. But I've always, I'm the first one in, last one out. No matter what they said, if I was out partying or whatever, I was the first one in, last one out. Didn't matter. And I was playing well. And then, when I started getting injured, he started taking shots at me in the media. And so that really, we in 2007, we started out, I think, 1-3 in 2007. And in the media, he called our defense soft and belittled. I'll never forget that. And I went back at him in the media. Again, I was like, you're not gonna. I play on that defense. You ain't calling me soft, motherfucker. Like, don't. If you want to call me upstairs, call me soft, but don't do that.
Yeah.
Because we were not playing well. We were getting our ass kicked a little bit on the defense side of the ball. But again, we new coordinator, we're just getting adjusted to that new system. And so we wasn't playing well. But you started to notice too, I wasn't really upset when they let me go. I knew that they had to let me go because I was just riddled with injuries back to back, and I was compensating. I went from the knee to the Achilles to the calf. Even sometimes I would sit back and be like, God damn, this is the most flukish stuff happening. I just couldn't stay injured, and couldn't stay healthy because I was injured so much. And it was tears dropped in that building when I went.
Sure.
From
Buffalo, right?
When I went to Buffalo.
Yeah.
When I left, we played the Raiders on Sunday, and I got called upstairs to the owner, to Dean Spanos' office. And it wasn't like a normal business cut, even though I knew they had to do what they had to do because I wasn't healthy. And I wasn't now if I was still healthy and they did that shit, I would have been filming.
Yeah,
but
sure.
I think that they made it a business decision, and coincidentally enough, AJ and I, we got pretty cool then. And I met his family and his daughter and his son, and we actually had a good relationship towards the end. And he said something to me that I use in my everyday life, including business. Now, he told me, he said, Shawne, we got to stop the bleeding. He said, we got to stop the bleeding. The injuries, to this, not being on the field, and not being accountable, available for us when we need you. And he said, we got to stop the bleeding. And I didn't know what he meant then, but I understood what he mean now. It was just too much. So now, when business and stuff, and people are not doing what the fuck they're supposed to do, or stepping up to the plate, got to let you go. Yeah, I got to stop the bleeding. And that was one of the most important lessons to me. And I'm actually, man, I noticed some guys got some gripes with the NFL because it's shitty. It could be shitty sometimes. Sure. On the business side, but I really attribute a lot of my success for being in that environment. Yeah. Because the Chargers did not want to cut me. Right. They did not want to waive me and let me go. I can tell you that right now. But they had to. Yeah. They had to. And you can some of the moves they made by letting LT go, let Darren Sproles go, and not getting something for the guys in a trade or something like that, just kind of out the door. Yeah, could have been done probably differently. Sure, but man,
you almost appreciate the business side of it, knowing how much they do love you.
I appreciate the business because I knew they had to make a tough and difficult decision, and then that's all business is now. Yeah, I hire people, I work with people that I've had to let go or move on from. That is just a part of the business. Now, when you're an athlete, everything is personal. Sure. Yeah. When you're the player, everything is personal. I remember going to Buffalo, and I still wasn't healthy because I haven't got surgery on my Achilles yet. It was still torn.
That's crazy.
And so I played on a bum foot for a year and a half. Wow. And so I looked at it. We had the Chargers, dude. I was like, I'm not getting the surgery because I'm playing against them. I have fucking 3 sacks. Because at the time, I took it very personal. Sure. Even though I understood, but as a player, everything's personal. Yeah. And your emotions are wrapped up in it. But you got to understand, in business, that wasn't personal for them. It was strictly a business move. They didn't want to do it, but I understood. And now, man, it's taken me. I like people go all the time that I actually like. That I like it personally. But if you're not getting shit done, I got to make a decision. Sure.
Yeah. That time in Buffalo, you were there, what, 3 seasons?
Yeah, almost 3. Yeah,
almost 3 seasons. Obviously, still dealt with a lot of injuries during that time. When you called it a career, were you feeling like you still had something in the tank, but you knew your body couldn't do it? Or were you content and it's time to go?
Yeah. So I ended up having the Achilles surgery. Finally. Yeah. I got it. But Achilles takes about 9 months before you're back to your, yourself, and then you still got the mental aspect of it. If I'm gonna do something, this shit's gonna tear on me again.
Yeah.
That part of it was probably tougher than coming back from the physical injury,
Right.
because my explosion off the line of scrimmage was so powerful that you always thought if I just do this thing one time too hard, it's gonna pop again. So that part was hard to get over. My last couple games, if you go back and find those clips in Buffalo, was probably some of my better games I've ever played, ever. The Buffalo they didn't have a lot of TV games and things like that, so people didn't see it. But man, those last couple of games that I played was some of my best. And Doug Welly, who was a GM at the time, after the game, the last game, he came to me and said that they wanted to re-sign me, give me a new contract. In my head, I knew that I was done, though, and so I didn't have a relationship with my dad growing up. I didn't see my dad from the ages of 10 or 11 to 28. And I knew I was going to retire, and I called him.
Wow.
And so he drove up from Atlanta with him and his wife, drove up from Atlanta to Buffalo because he wouldn't get on the plane. And so they drove up, and they seen my very last game, and I knew I can retire after that. But he's never came to any one of my games, high school, Boys and Girls Club on up, college, anything. And so I knew I was going to retire, and I said, if I'm going to retire, I want him to see me play one time.
Oh, that's awesome.
And that was it.
Wow. That's incredible, man. That's an amazing story. Was it like a cold call to him, or had you repaired your relationship at that point? Or
we had talked my freshman year when I was at the University of Maryland. And we talked on the phone for about 3 or 4 hours. And I just hit him with a lot of questions. Just stuff that you don't get a chance to ask him. Like, hey, you get mad over this type of stuff.
Right.
Like just trying to see what you guys got in common. And so he said, look, I'm not going to be like the rest of the dads that never been around. I'm not going to call you trying to come in the picture late. Here's my number. Here's my address. If you ever want to talk to me again, here I am. But I felt like after that 4-hour conversation, I was good.
Sure.
I've already made and got there without him.
yeah,
And so I was good. So we talked here a couple years later, here and there, once in a blue moon, a couple times a year. We started talking a little bit more towards the end of my career, but we didn't have lengthy conversations. And that was the first time I reached out to him, and he came up, and he seen me play one time in person. And I was good after that, man.
Yeah.
Like I knew I could never be the player I was because I already had the injuries and everything. So I played the highest level. Another thing that triggered is they fired all the coaches. Everybody got fired after that year. So I would have had to go in front of another coaching staff and prove myself again as a 9-year vet that's already kind of been banged up. I didn't want to do it. But yeah, man, after my dad came and see me play that one time, I was done. That was it for me. I was like, I did everything I wanted to do in the field. I made some good money. I don't need this shit anymore. And I had other stuff already lined up. Ready. I was one of the ones like I didn't get forced out. I was ready to go.
yeah.
Because I always, playing on that. I know it's gonna sound like I'm an asshole a little bit, but playing on that minimum, when you know that, I think it was 1.4 or 1.6 or something like that at the time, and you played at the highest level, you know that the contract should be way bigger, and I know I can go and make money doing other stuff.
Sure.
Yeah.
And so I was like, let me just go into that second phase of my life and move on. Because I have a bigger upside off the field, and I do what I'm getting paid right now. So for me, it was also a business decision.
Did you start investing and doing like things with your money back then?
Yeah,
business wise.
Yeah, one of the first things I did when I got paid by the Chargers was I bought the naming rights and trademarks for Lights Out. That was the very first thing I did. And I didn't know what a trademark was at that time. I didn't know anything about it, but I was always curious about everything. I'm gonna find out. I'm gonna look into it. And one of my good friends, who his name is Greg Wiseman, we were having a drink one day in Oceanside, up north. So I think it's Oceanside, and like 2 or 3 in, I'm sitting there like, you know what, man, I want to buy Lights Out. So what do you mean? I said I want to buy whoever. Like I don't know who owns Lights Out, but I want to buy it. I want to start selling T-shirts. I was telling him everything I wanted to do. I think I'm like 21 at the time, and he said, Shawne, fuck, man, you know what I do for a living? I said, yeah, you're an attorney. He said, you know what type of attorney I am?
Trademark.
Trademark attorney. I said, shit, like, you know, like
Let's do this.
we just never talked about it. And so there was a company called PJ Salvage who was selling lights out sleep gear, pajamas and t-shirts and stuff like that. So anyway, I ended up buying it from them for like $175,000.
Nice.
Wow.
They wanted a whole lot more.
I bet.
But I was a pretty good negotiator at that time. Still am. But so yeah, I bought it and then I started to sell t-shirts while I was playing. This is like in the mid 2000s and Sports Fevers.
I had one. Yeah.
Did you?
Oh yeah, for sure, bro.
That's awesome.
Jerseys, anything that had to do with Shawne.
Crazy.
For sure. Yeah.
That's dope, man.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Oh yeah,
Crazy.
100%.
I started to sell in sports feeds. I hired somebody to teach me the retail business. So I was doing all this stuff while I was playing.
Yeah.
You used to so remember Seau's restaurant right over there, and you guys had that little mall right by Qualcomm. I remember grabbing sports memorabilia from that little area that whole time.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
That's dope.
Yeah, I would
Mission?
the store's called Sports Fever, but Mission Valley.
Yeah, Mission Valley.
Mission Valley.
Okay.
And so I signed a deal and I hired somebody to come in to teach me retail and so I can understand warehousing. Mm-hmm. I can understand, everything. I paid to learn all this stuff.
Yeah.
And so yeah, and then when I retired, I started selling at Tilly's and I was in DTLR. I was going to 250 stores in the country.
Nice.
But again, I was doing all this while I was playing. So that's why, look, as much as I love the game, I just knew I couldn't perform the way I did. So I was almost, and it's hard, dude. It's so hard for an athlete to know when it's time to retire.
Right.
And this crazy thing is everybody know before you do. Does that make any sense?
Yeah.
Everybody knows.
I had to think about it for a second, but you're right.
Everybody knows before you do.
Yeah.
Because as an athlete, our minds are so strong that that's what really separate guys. It's nothing to do with the physical part of it.
Right.
Yeah.
Certain guys can just take their minds to other lengths, other places that you couldn't even fucking imagine. So we always think we can do it in our head, but our body's saying, no, you can't.
Right.
You can't do it. So I started to see little things, but everybody already knew that I was like, you probably, it's time.
It's like that go out on your shield mentality for MMA guys.
Sure.
It's like, I'm sure NFL is similar where you're like, no, I want to physically not be able to move before I'm done playing football.
What area did you stay at when you were in San Diego?
I was in Scripps Ranch and then,
Scripps,
and then Poway.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
My folks were in PB for 15 years, bro. It was wild down there.
San Diego is the greatest place in the country.
Yeah.
I mean, especially during that time. And it just, you can't even duplicate, how great that city was. And I'm still in San Diego a lot, man. It's always kind of going to be home for me because I was drafted at 20 years old. I learned how to pay taxes at,
crazy,
in San Diego. I
In
learned
California? Fuck.
Yeah, which is a lot of damn taxes.
They take you down south ever?
Oh, dude, listen.
You had your
That's all
passport
we
when you
gotta
got
say,
drafted?
pal.
Listen, they was dragging my ass everywhere.
You didn't realize Hong Kong was that close?
Look, that's why I told you I was trying to stay out of places where I don't want to come back from. We were talking about, Chargers play. They play in Brazil this year. And there was a couple places in the world that I just try to stay away from. That's Brazil, Australia, and anything in Asia.
Oh, man.
And I try to stay out of those three places because I go and I make excuses why I don't need to come back. And I'm like, damn, your son. You love your son. You got to go back.
Yeah.
So.
Bro, that's funny. Are you still around the game today? Because obviously, and we'll talk about lights out here in a second, but are you still involved in the NFL or football in any way?
Yeah. I still work very close with the Chargers. I'm down there. In fact, I'm going down to shoot some stuff for Antonio Gates tomorrow. To the Chargers facility and their practice facility, which I'm going to the Boat. I haven't been yet for the first time, but I heard it's outrageous.
What is it called?
The Boat.
Oh.
Their new practice facility.
Oh,
insane.
okay.
It'll be my first time going.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm at every home game. I actually launched a tailgating show for my network that we still do tailgates down Thunder Alley and the Die Hard Boat Club, and still very involved, man. And more importantly, for me, it's like you can have a new GM, which Joe Ortiz, I fucking love that dude. Like he's a football guy.
Yeah,
not a numbers guy, nothing. Like he's a football guy that care about football players.
Yeah.
And then Jim Harbaugh, me and him text. I'll send him a text. I won't talk to him for like a month or two. Yeah. And I'll text him out of the blue. Hey, brick by brick.
Yeah.
Brick by brick, baby. Let's go.
His son called me a couple weeks ago, Jay. I talked to Jay for like an hour, just about the relations between MMA and football and everything else.
Yeah.
But what a cool guy. You know, it was good talking with him.
Yeah, man. And I think they're building something special out there. And so for me, I not only stay around the organization, but the fans.
Yeah.
Dude, it's like I feel like I never retired, to be honest. I mean, I still get a lot of love and stuff when I go to places in the country, but, you get around the Chargers fans, man, you just feel back at home again.
Yeah.
Does it bug you that they're in LA?
No. I think whether they want to say it publicly or not, or whether they can say it publicly or not, I think everybody in the organization wanted to stay in San Diego too.
Sure.
Yeah.
Everybody, dude, you got all the kids, everybody. It's from San Diego. It's home.
Yeah.
I mean, the Spanos are from Stockton and whatnot, but the kids, like everybody, grew up in San Diego.
Right.
Bro, that was a real rivalry. San Diego and the Raiders.
It's
Chargers and the Raiders. Like a real life. Now it's just like you can have more Charger fans here in Vegas. It didn't feel right. If you sold your season ticket to a Raider fan, your Charger season tickets were gone.
Yeah.
Yep.
Why do you think that they have such a hard time filling the stadium?
The ours?
Chargers fans. Because like you go to, I mean, I'm not saying anything that's not known. Like you go to Charger games and it's more than 50% the other team almost every time.
It was that when they were in OC at the StubHub. It was definitely that.
Yeah.
It was,
I feel like even in the not San Diego,
not
but LA.
Not as much now. It's like a 70-30. But you got to understand too, man, LA is a melting pot for everybody.
True.
Right?
True.
Like nobody's.
That's why Vegas is like it is too, right?
Man. Like nobody's, I mean, not trying to throw shade at Kansas, but nobody's leaving and moving to Missouri.
Right.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like
100%.
moving to Green Bay.
Sure.
You're not leaving LA. So
Right.
now everybody will get those jobs in California. Everybody wants to come to California. So you got Packers fans. You're going to have Denver Broncos fans.
melting pot.
And you're going to have teams that just show out more than anybody else. And I'm at the game, especially when playing the Raiders.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't give a shit how happy y'all come here. It's when you leave.
Right.
On the way out.
Yeah.
And so, but I think they've done a great job, man. It's not easy too because you got a lot of San Diego fans is pissed off.
They won't go to LA.
They won't go to LA.
Yeah.
And even when I go to San
That's a good point.
Diego now, like I have a good relationship with the city, and I still do a ton of stuff out there.
Yeah.
But it's you got people like we love you, man, but fuck those Chargers.
Right.
You got those people that just feel that way, and I don't really fault them in a way, right? Because that, like, you got to understand, like San Diego, we had that place like humming.
Oh,
We
bro.
had that place humming in the 2000s.
Yeah.
And it was a part of the DNA of that city.
100%.
And families who had season tickets for 30 years. And so like you can't really fault them for feeling that way. But also too, I understand the business side. I was put on a panel. I got a call from the mayor one night because things got really, really hectic with the team in the city. And they wanted certain people in the city council. They wanted the team to stay there. So the mayor called me one night, and they actually asked me to go on this panel to basically lobby to keep the team there. To do whatever I can to whatever influence I had to help keep the team. And I was trying to. We were trying to keep the team there. We all wanted the team to stay.
Yeah,
in San
100%.
Diego.
That was over the stadium, right?
Over the
wanted,
stadium, And I just seen over time, all the proposals and things. I was like, this shit's not going through.
Is Qualcomm still there, or do they?
No, you got the other stadium now, Snapdragon.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know.
That's where the San Diego FC. I've been to a couple games. San Diego
soccer.
FC, the soccer game, dude. They did a amazing job.
Really
with that place.
So and that's where the old Qualcomm is.
Yeah, I think it's in the same.
Yeah, same spot. So they got
area.
Petco now, and then they got okay.
Wow.
Yeah, but I would, I got some news and stuff coming. I mean, we're gonna sign a multi-fight deal in San Diego at a big venue to get down there 3-4 times. But I'm also investing in some other sports leagues to get more sports back in San Diego too.
Nice.
So we're gonna make an announcement soon if we can close this deal, make it happen. San Diego always gonna be home for me.
Hell yeah,
of course.
What's up, guys? Get on the sports betting action by going to mybookie.ag. At MyBookie, it's easy. You bet, you win, they pay. MyBookie has over 150 bets for you to choose from anything from fights, hoops, football, prop bets, minute bets. It's all there. Head to mybookie.ag and use code VERSUSPOD. Not only will you get a 50% bonus on your first deposit up to $1,000, you'll also get a $10 casino chip. That's a lot of money there. I've seen large parlays cash for less. Every once in a while, Again, head to mybookie.ag and use the code VerseUsPod. You bet, you win, they pay. Now let's get back to the show.
Well, let's talk about that. Lights Out Xtreme Fighting. You launched this, 5-6 years ago at this point.
Yeah.
Did you always want to launch your own promotion, or was that the goal?
Well, I'll tell you what happened was I was working with Bellator for a couple of years. I was like an ambassador for them. And some stuff happened in a trademark dispute, and I ended up patching it up, and we actually made a partnership where I became an ambassador for them. And I learned a lot about the big organization and how things work. Mm-hmm. And I've been around the fighters, the coaches. So knew the actual like inside of how things work, but you don't understand like how to do venue deals. You don't understand how certain things operate. And so I learned a lot, man. I was Mohegan Sun when he had their fights there. Yep. I was with them I was sitting in all the meetings. And I actually went to kind of pitch Lights Out to be a feeder league to Bellator. And I get, Viacom and I think Bellator was into it, but I don't think Viacom was. And so when I made a lot of recommendations of some of the things that I thought they should be doing, it just went on deaf ears. Yeah. And that happens a lot with bigger corporations, bigger companies, especially somebody as big as Viacom is, and them having Bellator. Like, I thought the Bellator could be so much bigger.
Agreed.
Yeah.
So much bigger. Scott Coker when it comes to the fight shit, Scott Coker's the man.
Yeah.
Like he is. He's when it comes to the fight stuff. But I thought Bellator could be building other verticals when it comes to content, whether it's reality shows, tech. I brought all these. I had Eric Burak, who was like the head of content and the digital stuff. I used to go pitch them stuff all the time. And finally, I got tired of that shit, man. Like,
fall on deaf ears.
I just like, you know what? I'm just gonna launch my own.
Right.
I understand the business. I know the sport. I've been around other people. I know who are looking for jobs. I was already in a TV. I was at the launch of so many. Like, I was at the launch of Good Morning Football when it was NFL AM. I was at the launch of shows for Fox Sports, ESPN. I was at the launch of WWE Network when they launched. I hosted the WrestleManias. Done a couple pay-per-views with them, and so I knew the business.
Yeah.
And so I was like, man, I can do this shit on my own. Yeah. And I can build a team around me to get some of the stuff that I need to.
Do it my way.
Yeah. And don't get me wrong, it's hard, even on the regional side, man. Like, it's hard. It's a hard business. It's a grueling, hard business. And people don't even understand, even on the regional side, it's just as tough as the bigger side, because at least the bigger side is funded to do whatever the hell they want to, when they want to. Have bigger fight purses. If they want to spend $500,000 for production, they can. Right. If they can fly
they don't
international
have to pitch
fighters
brands
out,
as hard
they don't
as
have
you
to
have
pitch
to.
sponsors because sponsors are dying to work with them, and they can call the shots with that. So, it's a nonstop selling for me, and then also, working with a smaller budget and smaller opportunities on that side.
Definitely.
So the grind is there, and in fact, a lot of the Bellator staff is with me.
Nice.
Right now.
Yeah.
And so we're building something special, man. But I believe in doing things organically. And I was just on Errol's show the other day.
I seen that.
And to me, I don't have to talk shit about somebody to big ourselves up. But when you see certain things happen in the industry, you got to call it out for what it is.
Sure. Right.
So when GFL launched multiple times, it didn't go through. It makes it harder for somebody like me. Yeah. Right. When you're doing shit the right way, you're selling real tickets.
Yep.
You have real cadence of fights. Yeah. We're gonna have a fight every 4 weeks or so. People are showing up. We're doing the shit the right way. Yep. And we're building a brand starting at the local market and building your way out regionally. Yeah. And because I've been in TV for so long, I did all of our deal we had with Fubo. When we started at Fox Sports Western Prime Ticket, I did those deals. I did everything starting out. And so to have somebody like myself that understands distribution, understands how to sell tickets, understands how you're bringing the right team and matchmakers, venue, team, and just operations to build teams out. Yeah, and just leading the team, because that's all. I've been doing that shit long enough. Yeah, and that's really all it is. That's why we talked about football being so to business, comparable to business, to life, everything else. I've just built great teams. Now I got, bringing on, I'm about to make a really big announcement in a few weeks.
Nice.
Of someone we're bringing on. And, this tech is about to go crazy. We put chips in the gloves with Shot Tracker partnerships.
Yep. Awesome.
That'll be ready going live in 90 days. Your speed, power punch, G-force going to be displaying up on the screen.
Yeah.
We got, sponsorship, AI sponsorship, my partnership in PTF Lab, where the sponsorships changing the map while people watching. And it's going to be good. Like, once we get it accurate, we'll license the shit out to other promotions. We don't care.
Yeah.
I mean, for one, I want to make money.
Yeah.
But for two, I think that there's some regional and local promotions that can benefit from making some more money in sponsorship.
Bro, we need you. You know what I mean? Like, look at the landscape right now with these.
Bad.
It's bad. And we need guys like yourself, promotions that we're still, even veterans like Kai Kamaka and guys that are trying to get back into the show, the Cody Stamens, they have an opportunity to go and compete, but it doesn't have to be with just PFL. You know what PFL's doing, bro? And I'm not trying to shit on them, but I think that they know that the reason why they bought Bellator is that took out one level of competition for them.
Definitely.
But now that they know the guys that aren't going to make it back to the UFC, they can cut their payroll knowing that there's only one place for them to go.
100%.
Yeah, and look, don't get me started on this shit, man. Like, and it's not like I don't have a personal vendetta against Don Davis or Peter Murray. Like, I don't have anything personally against them.
Sure.
Again, when you raise the type of money you have in this business, you're expected to at least put a dent in the market.
Right.
Yeah.
And they haven't.
Right.
They are. I had this conversation multiple times. They may be good businessmen, but just being a good businessman won't help you in MMA specifically.
100%.
In building a sport, in building this around MMA. Like, it is a different animal in this sport.
And so football and MMA, it's a lot of the same type of fan base, believe it or not.
Yeah.
Very similar.
Yeah.
And I'm talking about just Don Davis. You can't trick these MMA fans.
That's exactly it.
You can't trick them.
Right.
Yeah.
They know if you are embedded into the sport or not.
Yeah.
Look, you could be a business. There's nothing wrong. If you got to cut a guy, let somebody go because it doesn't make sense for your business side.
Right.
They see it, but when they know that you're behind that punching the keyboard and just going to raise money, your heart is not into the sport.
It's soulless.
I want to know how they keep getting fucking series raises because, send me some of that with our business. I mean, it's crazy, bro. They're failing like at scale.
It's look, I think he's about to do it again.
Yes.
Which is crazy.
Yes.
And, you got promotions out there like ours who are making it happen without having to go raise a shitload of money. I can tell you right now, we sold more tickets last year in the PFL.
I believe it.
I'm
telling you, we have.
Believe it.
I'm telling you, we sold more tickets last year than PFL.
Yeah.
And so, this is the problem I have. And this is not to bag on any promotion because, in fact, I'm trying to like LFA does a good job. Cage Ways does a good job. Like you have XFC. I was talking to them the other day. I try to big anybody up. I don't take shots.
Right.
That's not what I do. But when you start calling yourself the co-leaders of a sport and you're fucking sucking out here, you can't do that, man, because, again, it just shits on the overall business and the sport in general.
You're also just bold-faced lying to your audience,
Right.
and they can tell.
You're
like
questioning the intelligence
exactly.
of... Right.
And their intelligence doesn't need to be questioned.
That's what I'm saying. It's like who are you feeding this shit to? Like who's, you know what I mean? If you want to be, first of all, if I was in their shoes, if I actually had a legitimate shot to be a number 2 behind the UFC, I would always make it a way that the guys can leave and go to the UFC.
Coexist.
To coexist. When you started saying, hey, you got 10 fighters in the top 50 or whatever it is, or whatever the rankings are, that may be true, but that don't make you co-leaders of the sport.
Yeah.
Right.
By the way, that's the fighters who rank.
Right.
Not you. You're not getting in the cage.
Yeah.
And so when you start making claims like that, man, it really pisses me off because we're out here doing it right and we're growing organically. We got distribution. We're going to UFC Fight Pass soon.
Love it.
We're on Fubo and we were on all the regionals and MSG. I'm about to make announcements with more distribution and stuff like that when it's not. So I got all the live content that I own. We do live on my network, but after we want people to see it.
Right.
We want, because it helps out with our sponsors. It helps out with just growing more eyeballs better.
Yeah.
But again, we're doing the shit the right way. We're not trying to go and have, a $5 million fight per se night.
Right.
And you're making 2.
Right. Yeah.
Like it just doesn't make sense. You're gonna. That's a recipe to go out of business. And you know how many meetings I've sat in and I had to like have a rebuttal for the shit the PFL did in the business.
Yeah.
So when I go out and raise capital, I'm talking to the sponsors. I gotta leapfrog over the shit that I hear about PFL because that's the message that they send.
Yep.
So now I got
a standing operating procedure because of them.
I just man, I got to clean up so much stuff because of what they've done in it. Canceling fights, the PFL Paris, push back multiple times.
Yeah.
You know, if
GFL doing their shit. Yep.
And I got I know Darren.
Yeah.
You know, we you know, I got no problem with him.
Series of Fighting Days. Yeah,
he's a super cool. I like him personally, but you can't start a league up and don't start twice,
right,
or 3 times, right.
I like Darren too, but now he's just basically ostracized from the MMA community forever.
And you're guaranteeing purses of $1 million to 1.7 before putting ever.
No,
it's like, come on, bro. Like,
per fighter.
Exactly. Right.
What kind of shit is that?
Exactly.
And so
it's like, come on,
it's like my
man.
son wrote those fucking contracts.
It's like
in crayon.
Dude, it's like
Sign
and
here.
actually I was going to do a deal with GFL if they were to get off the ground for my network to hold their pay-per-views. I think it was us and DAZN, like maybe somebody else.
Bro, I don't want to.
So I was rooting for them to do it.
We all were.
I was rooting for them to get off the ground selfishly because it was going to be on my network. But the second part is, man, like, hey, man, it'd be nice to get some other names out there. They had T. Wood on there. They had,
Kevin Lee. They had
Tony.
Yeah.
They were stacked up. And I was like, man, if this should happen, it's going to be big. And then I started talking to them about there was no production. Like, there was so much shit that was not right. And me, like, I'm on the operations side just as much as I am in the media and anything else.
Yeah.
Like, I'm in everything happens with lights out.
I remember talking to you and you're like, I never put 2 and 2 together until you mentioned it to me. They're like, you know what they're doing, right? And I was like, no. You're like, they're trying to package everything for a network to come in and go, we'll take all of this now. You know, he goes, like, you're putting the horse before the cart.
Bro, they were talking they were talking to investors about, okay, this team Dubai is 15 million, this team Miami is 20 million. And then they're like trying to get reputable sponsors that are already in the MMA space to come in and say, okay, hey, bankroll this, be this, and then once we launch, we'll pay you back on it. It's like, bro, that's not how business works.
So they reached out to me 2 years ago. GFL did. Maybe.
Is that when they were like WFL at first, right?
No, it was something else.
Didn't they switch
It was
switch the name?
It might have happened. So they reached out to my guys over at 76 Capital because they know I had a relationship with the VC over there. And they said, hey, we want Shawne to basically for lights out Xtreme fighting to roll up into us, basically. Mm-hmm. First of all, I laughed. I said, I'm not fucking going anywhere. But I did take a look at it. And I think on the second or third page of the deck they sent over, they were talking about how they were going to basically be bigger than the UFC. I took the shit, I balled it up in the trash, and I threw it away. And I never spoke to them again. Because the whole goal of this thing, if you actually want to compete with the UFC at all, if anybody is crazy enough to go out and directly try to do it, you got to do it by being different.
Yeah,
you got to be doing it by offering something different than they offer. Mm-hmm. You're not going to have bigger fights in the UFC. They already got the big names. You're not going to have a bigger buildup. You're not going to have a bigger storyline. You're not going to have distribution eyeballs, and you're not going to have the media. So you have to start looking at ways of being different. If you ever want to compete, and I think it's stupid for anybody to just jump in and automatically think they can compete.
Yeah, exactly.
Because you haven't built a foundation yet to people want to show up no matter who's on the damn card.
Right.
Your brand ain't big enough.
Right.
And so UFC has done a great job, at just, even me, man, when I go home, my family and people like, yo, I was watching your UFC thing on TV the other day.
Yeah.
Think about that.
Yeah.
This is family of mine.
Yeah.
And, they're not into really combat sports or MMA in particular, but they'll see it on TV, on football, wherever we're airing at, be in sports, and we on a bunch of other places. They say, I seen your UFC, I was watching a UFC thing the other day. But that's how well they branded themselves.
They're not saying MMA.
They're not saying MMA. They're saying
you fight UFC.
Yeah.
That's it. And
that's by design.
Right.
There's only about 10 companies ever that name and brand is so strong that you think that's the product.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like you think that's the injury, like Kleenex, Clorox.
Right.
People don't say, we're going to need Clorox.
Yeah. Right.
Nikes, right? Q-tip.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
I mean, remember Xerox back then? Like, there was it's like 10 companies. I think I was reading a book the other day. It's like 10 companies in the world that their name is they branded themselves so well that people think that's what it is.
Right.
And so UFC is one of them. Mm-hmm. And so it's hard to go out when they have that amount of market share to get the visibility that way because they got it.
Right.
Now, if you want to be, and by the way, guess what? If you number 2 behind a $14 billion company, you ain't doing that bad.
Dude, we say that all the time.
It's not.
You ain't doing that bad.
That's
Yeah, we
the
say it
issue
all
with
the
these companies. Why try to challenge UFC?
Right.
They have such a big head start.
Yeah.
They're such a huge company. Like, let them. Healthy competition is good. So like you could be number 2, 3, 4, 5 and still be
make
making
great money,
millions, billions
right.
a year. Like there's nothing wrong with being number 2, 3, 4,
I'll say the one
5.
thing that I noticed that the
Bare
PFL,
Knuckle does a great job about this. Sorry, not to cut you off.
No, not at all. But
they do a great job.
The PFL does. I say they waste money. They do things that because they're trying to copy and paste what the UFC does really well already. So over time, it's like PFL. You don't need to, for example, you don't need to do a mock weigh-in, a ceremonial weigh-in.
Yeah.
No one's showing up. You're wasting money on production.
Yeah.
You're wasting money on expenses to charter a bus.
Yeah.
On bringing the fighters. This all costs money.
Yeah.
No one gives a shit about the fucking fake
Yeah.
the face off. Barely do they give a shit in the UFC for it.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
But think about the overhead, the amount of money that costs.
Yeah.
Production wise.
They also don't do a good job of like that. They had their moment with the Paul Hughes Nurmagomedov fight.
Yes.
Who was Usman Nurmagomedov?
Yes.
Or yeah.
Usman.
That fight was incredible.
Great fight. They're probably their best fight ever.
Not probably, definitely, I
Yeah.
think their best fight ever. And
No one watched.
no one watched. Don't hear none about it. No tickets were sold. Paul Hughes has fought since then. I don't think 90% of fans know that.
Right.
Like where they just don't do, to your point about the content, they don't do a good job with that at all. It's not, MMA is not a sport where you could just throw money at it and make it work.
No,
or combat sports in general is not.
You have to build a presence.
Yeah, you have to
And
tell a story.
You got to
have to
tell
get
a
people
story
invested.
because guess what? That local guy can sell tickets, by the way.
Yeah.
Your local fighter.
Bare Knuckle just sold out Wells Fargo with Eddie and
Yes.
whoever he just fought and
Dude,
lost
you
to.
got
Jeremy Stevens.
Jeremy Stevens.
You got
thank
amateur state champs, right? Who got a following on their own. Yeah. Now they may not be a mega star where they're gonna pull in pay-per-view numbers.
Right.
Right.
But guess what? In that city, people know who they are.
8,000 seat arena, they're gonna sell it out.
Shit,
You know what I mean?
you gotta start at 3,000. You gotta start at 2,500.
Right.
Sure.
And you have to be consistent enough to understand who's coming to watch your fight, where they're coming from,
Yeah.
age demographic, what they like and don't like. You got to have repetition when people see you, and people know you're gonna have a fight. And if you put on a show, and then you don't have another one for 10 weeks, and you cancel that one, and then that one goes, you're not gonna build up any confidence and trust with your fan base,
Right.
Right.
They're
and
not
just the
consistent.
fighters and people in general.
Yeah.
I mean, we were supposed to have a fight in San Diego on next Saturday, June 14th. We found out last minute that the EMTs and a bunch of state requirements didn't service the area of the casino we were in. Like there was nothing they can do cross state lines. It was on tribal property. It was like a bunch of shit. It was problems that we couldn't get over. 3 weeks ago, we switched the damn venue. We're going back to Thunder Studios in Long Beach, right? We didn't cancel. We didn't push anything back.
Yep.
My whole team, everybody there, we got to hustling and got everything back.
Yep.
And if we kept the fight. You can't, when you start to send a bad message when you're canceling and pushing shit back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
It's lack of consistency,
the
too.
fans don't trust you. The fighters don't trust you.
Yep.
Hell, the commission probably, I mean, like it's just a trickle down effect that you don't build trust. And I think PFL's biggest problem is that I think they're understanding now, getting better. The problem is you already blew it up. You already you shot your shot already.
Yeah.
And so now they're trying to dwindle things back by cutting fight purses.
Right.
They're trying to really I mean, Don Davis posted they got $25 tickets now.
Seen that.
You know,
I seen that.
again, if you if you have tickets,
The fans have spoken.
Yeah. Yeah.
if you want to build, and by the way, if you start out that way with $25 tickets, I wouldn't have a problem.
Exactly.
Right.
They're doing it ass backwards.
They're doing it ass backwards.
They did this whole thing with all this money and tried to be number 2.
Bro,
didn't work. Now they're like
paper in the Hulu arena back in 2018.
Yeah.
There was no one coming to these fights.
So people that know, and I don't think I told anybody this. When they were the World Series of Fighting, they came down my office in LA. They tried to get me to buy World Series of Fighting back in 2014. And so this one it was a guy owner named Shawne and some other
remember
people.
Shawne. Yeah,
So
he's in jail now, I think.
is he? Sound about
good
right.
thing you didn't do that deal.
Yeah, I don't want to share a cell with nobody no time soon.
Yeah.
And so they all came down to my office. This when I was selling apparel to Tilly's, and we were selling some stuff at Walmart. A bunch of clothing stores. So they came down because my partner Stephen Jonah and Alden Harper, who was my mentors in the apparel space, really big. They on MMA Elite.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
you remember those guys, right?
Yep.
So those were my mentors in clothing and license space. That's why I learned the business from.
Yeah.
From Stephen Jonah and Alden Harper. And my office was right. So you had Alden, Stephen's office, and then mine. So World Series of Fighting came down there, and we're trying to help them with a Fox Deportes deal at the time. Because I was working with Fox. I was doing a bunch of TV stuff. So they were trying to help them get this Fox Deportes deal. And they wanted me to buy World Series of Fighting. And I looked at the numbers, and I'm like, fuck no.
Yeah.
I said, no way. I didn't think this was a good deal at all. And they were already blowing money. And so that's when I knew when I started seeing things like I can do this shit on my own.
Yeah.
I already knew the space. I knew when I saw what they showed, where they messed up at, where they continue to mess up at.
Right.
And so that's when I was like, man, I was
it's so smart because why are you going to polish a turd when you can just go start your own? Like they're already at a deficiency.
Yeah.
Just because of the name, No, it's smart.
Yeah. And so that's at that time I knew that not only did I wanted to be in this business, in this sport, but I wanted to run the show. I had ideas that I just got tired of things going on deaf ears. So we launched Lights Out Xtreme Fighting.
That's awesome. And now you have your 25th event, June 14th, in San Diego, correct? Or Long Beach?
Yep.
Yeah, San Diego.
In Long Beach.
In Long Beach.
Yeah. At Thunder Studios next Saturday. Doors open at 4:30, and then like you talk about former guys like Curtis Melinder. Mm-hmm. He's on this card. Renato Valente. Former PFL, Bellator, UFC guys.
Yeah.
And so we're starting to get more of them guys come over.
Sure.
We just had we had two guys just got called up over the last
Mateus,
yeah. And then Sean Sharif got called up, some months ago.
Yep.
And so,
that's right.
Every fight now that we're having, we're getting a couple guys called up, and guess what? That's good for us.
Yeah, big time. That's what you want.
That's the mentality you should have because it is good for you. Like
Yeah.
you're not trying to compete; you're trying to be this.
And we need this.
Yeah,
we need this level of competition where guys can go and fight. And then look, I tell guys all the time too that are on that regional scene. Let's say, don't worry about what the paycheck is.
Yeah,
it's about going to get experience, go get your wins.
Yeah,
travel, cut the weight, do all those things. But like credit to you because just like you said, if you change that date, bro, the ripple effect that it has on a guy's weight cut, on the travel. Coaches can't go certain times because of that.
Yeah, I mean, so, the coach might be cornering somebody else the same night, so now they got to make a decision on who they got to go, who they're going to go to. And so again, and it's not bagging on PFL and what they're doing, but it's hard when you're not a fight guy, when you're not in the business and you don't know. And also, I think too, me being a former professional athlete, like I get that shit, man. Like even now, I still go in there and train and stuff like that. But man, it's rough, dude. And it's just. Again, when you get into the numbers, you don't give a shit about the sport. Yeah, it'll show at some point.
Yeah. I remember when we moved that fight card for John Jones and Gustafson, the rematch. We moved it from
Picogram.
Yeah, moved it from LA to the Forum.
Yeah.
Christmas week.
Yeah,
Christmas week, man. 3 days. UFC chartered like 2 private big ass Boeings and moved the whole shit. It was crazy, but and that's why.
Yeah, and then we're getting. I mean, again, when you talk about venues and stuff, and we're getting calls now from people to come out everywhere.
Yeah.
Texas. People want us to come here. Have some fights here.
Yeah.
And then I got a good relationship with Dana, man. Like we talk and and sometimes a lot of times we talk about stuff unrelated.
Sure.
A lot of stuff we talk about just business stuff overall. But he's always been like talk about somebody that's still grind, like his ass still works
100%.
Like it's crazy. I'll go see him. And sometimes he'll be in pitch meetings still, just grinding away, man. It's just I've always been impressed on that side of things. Like I don't care what people feel about somebody personally,
right?
And you can have your gripes with them. It could be a real gripe or not, but I respect.
He works, man. He works.
I respect the hell out of him. And, when I text me, it's like I thought I was a fast texter.
Right.
You know? That motherfucker text back quick, dude.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, there's no way.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's just me or what, but he texted like, I'm like, damn, I thought somebody got me beat. You know?
Even with what he's doing with his own health, you know, like I appreciate that too.
Yeah.
Like you're saying, this guy's grinding nonstop, but now he's taking care of his body and you seeing the results and like, dude, like you gotta appreciate that kind of shit.
Have to. Well, I think we've gone like almost 2 hours, if not over 2 hours. So I don't want to take up too much of your time, man. Anything else you want to add? Or?
Yeah, we got to ask. One venue, walkout song. Okay. You get 4 corners, but this 4-corner episode is any former coaches or teammates.
Oh.
You're going to your fight.
Where are we fighting?
I got to take it back to San Diego.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're fighting in
Sports
Arena?
Sports Arena down in San Diego.
Okay.
A little old, but I think we
Yeah.
can pack it out.
What's the walkout song?
What's the walkout song?
Probably 50 Cent, I Whoop Your Head.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that'll be it. What's the other ones for coaches?
You get 4
4
corners, any former NFL coaches,
Yeah.
high school, and teammates.
Dude, Marty.
Marty's leading the charge.
Yeah, dude.
Rest in peace.
Yeah, Marty had me probably with his pregame speeches tearing up and shit, ready to go kill somebody before the damn fight. You know, walking out with me, I'll probably Jamal Williams.
Yeah.
Walk over with my boy Stephen Cooper, linebacker there, Shawne Phillips. You know, it causes the three horsemen.
Yeah, I love that.
Is there one more? Or
That was
what do
4.
we need? That's 4?
Throw one more in there.
Phil, man.
He gonna be talking mad shit to your
for sure.
opponent.
No cuss words.
For sure, no cuss word.
Yeah.
But I play with some, like I play with Ryan Fitzpatrick and with Buffalo. He was a great. I had some great teammates, man, along the way.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Marty's putting the game plan together,
For sure.
turning you loose.
Yeah.
Yeah. Marty will have you ready to run through a wall.
Yeah,
Dude. And
I love
I'll
that.
give this one quick story. I know we ended, but I give this one quick story so he used to give these speeches after a game, the team meeting room on Mondays. We used to bet because he was after a certain point he would start tearing up.
Oh yeah,
So we caught on to it and we started to bet on it.
sure.
So we all started bringing $500 or something like that to the team meeting room and shit, right? So there was a clock behind Marty when he'll look at a play. Say if I run down a guy 30 yards, I mean, like this is what you supposed. This is how these inspirational talks. This clock right behind us, we're all looking at the clock like, hey, over or under, you're going to cry before 2 minutes. So I got like 500 in cash.
Yeah.
We all sit down here with money, stack because we got it. And it'd be like 1 minute and 39 seconds. And that bottom lip will start trembling. And then the tear come. And then all you hear in the meeting room, fuck! And then you hear the crinkled up money like pass and
No
shit.
one's listening to shit he's got to say.
We're all looking at the clock behind him
I love
because we know he's about to cry.
Oh, bro.
And dude, his bottom lip would start like shaking a little bit, and everybody's trying to hold like 2 minutes. Come on, 2 minutes.
Hold out.
148. Shit. And then he caught on to it after a while. We started. He's like, any of you assholes in here bringing money here to bet on if I cry, like get the fuck out.
Oh, bro.
He was
fucking hilarious.
He caught us, man. But yeah, Marty would be leading the charge. For
Dick
me.
Vermeil's like 20 seconds in.
Yeah.
He'll take the under.
That's an amazing story about Marty. Because I remember. I think you've seen those stories where he was emotional in the.
Dude, I remember when they
speeches.
fired him off of like a what was it? That one lost
14-2?
season? Yeah, 14. God,
Was that the year y'all went to the AFC title game?
Yeah.
No, we got kicked out of the playoff, but we went in 07.
Oh, 08 is when you went
08, yeah.
14-2.
Yeah, no, 06 we went 14-2.
Oh, 06 you went 14-2.
Lost to the Patriots?
Lost to the Patriots in the second round.
That was like the interception. They got,
I try not to bring that up. I try
we
not
won't
to
talk
bad
about old
my
shit.
former teammate.
We won't
Yeah.
talk about old
But
shit.
that name is banned in San Diego. It's banned.
I don't even think I remember who it
Yeah, I
was.
know. I remember I could see the whole fucking thing. Yeah.
Oh, man. Well, listen, Shawne, thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
Really appreciate you coming on. Good luck at Lights Out Extreme Fighting 25 in Long Beach on June 14th. And hopefully we do this again soon.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me, man. Appreciate
Thanks for coming, brother.
Well, that does it for another episode of Verse Us with Eric Nixick. Please make sure you like and subscribe on YouTube. Leave a comment below. Let us know who you want to see on the show. Also, make sure you download the audio version of the podcast anywhere you listen to your podcast, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, everywhere. And also follow the show on social media, on all social media at VSUS Pod. For Eric and Shawne, I'm Randy. We'll see you guys next time. Boom. That was a long